going to call this meeting to order. Good morning, everyone. May we have a roll call?
Sorry, I wasn't prepared. Callie Maypham.
Present.
Tanya Fairley is absent. Megan Ellis.
Present.
Kelly Funk.
Present.
Reese Isbell.
Here.
Yolanda Jimenez.
Present.
Colette Kavanaugh.
Present.
Tamika Miller.
Present.
Danielle Munoz is absent. Jacob Rostovsky is absent. And Steve Weeks.
Present.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. I will move on to the second item on our agenda. We are going to handle our reinstatement hearings. The first one is Ms. Elmer.
Yes.
We will start with the reinstatement hearings. Do we need to clear the Okay. I will turn it over to our administrative officer.
Okay, good morning. We're going to go on the record, Mr. Brown and Ms. Elmer, if you want to come up. We're going to call the Elmer matter. And our interpreter.
Should have like close to you. You only need one.
So you'll begin interpreting as soon as I start.
Okay. Can you speak on the phone so I can hear better?
Yes. Better?
Yes.
Better? Okay. Good morning. We are on the record in the matter of the petition for reinstatement of K. Elmer, cosmetologist license number KK161680, petitioner. This matter is heard before the quorum of the State Board of Barbering and Cosmetology. The OAH case number is 2024-010866. The agency case number is BC 20-12084. Today's date and time is Monday, May 6, 2024. It is 9:13 in the morning. This matter is being heard by the board. My name is Chantal Samponia. I'm the administrative law judge assigned to hear this matter, and we are in Burbank, California. First, I'd like to swear in the interpreter. Can you please state and spell your name slowly?
My name is Vamoua, V-A-M-O-U-A.
I didn't, sorry, is that your full name? I missed.
That's my full name.
Okay.
The first name is Va, V-A.
Oh, okay, sorry.
M-O-U-A.
Sorry. Okay, I'm going to swear you in. Do you swear or affirm to translate truthfully from the English language to the Hmong language and from the Hmong language to the English language to the best of your ability?
I do.
Thank you. And we'll take appearances, please. First, on behalf of petitioner.
Good morning, Your Honor. Excuse me, Adam Brown, Law Office of Brown, for Ms. Kane.
Thank you. And on behalf of...
Good morning, Your Honor. Stephen Svedich, Deputy Attorney General, representing appearing on behalf of the people of the state of California, pursuant to Government Code Section 11522.
Thank you. Mr. Brown, would you like to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. Your Honor, brief opening, if I may.
Go ahead.
And good morning, members of the board. We greatly appreciate the opportunity to be here. My client, Kane Elmer.
Oh, can you use the...
Oh, I'm sorry. Usually my voice carries a long ways. Is this audible? A little better? Okay.
Bring it down if you can for the clerk order. Thank you.
How's that? Test?
Perfect,
It's okay?
thank you.
Okay. Never been told I'm too quiet. That's a first. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate the opportunity to be here this morning. I don't have a long opening statement because we view this case as very straightforward. And what I mean by that is Ms. Elmer is here as somebody who is an open book. She acknowledges that there were certainly some problems in this case. She understands that her conduct was not acceptable. She is here today to make no excuses, but perhaps to answer questions that the board may have regarding the incident where the inspector was physically thrown out of the salon. I have discussed this matter in great depth with my client. She understands the seriousness of the matter, the conduct. There are no excuses being made here. Ms. Elmer also was the subject of a criminal filing. A misdemeanor case was filed as a result of the incident where she threw the inspector out of her salon physically. That case was dismissed in December of 2021 pursuant to a conditional plea wherein Ms. Elmer did complete successfully 12 anger management classes. She learned a great deal from those classes. Bottom line for the board today is that we just do not see this happening again. She's learned her lesson. She's tremendously remorseful. She's sorry. She's embarrassed. She's humiliated. All of that being said, she really wants to return to the practice of cosmetology. Why is that? That's because she loves what she does. She loves her clients. She loves taking care of people. Many of her clients call her Grandma Cake. So she's been doing this for many years. This is all she knows. She did have an issue with anger. I believe that once she testifies today, you'll see that that has been remedied and it's been dealt with successfully. We do not see this incident ever occurring again. But perhaps the best proof of that will come from Ms. Elmer and not me. But with that said, we hope that the mitigation evidence that's been submitted to the board is helpful to you in reaching a determination today. She has great support behind her, including her family. Her daughter, Alora Elmer, is here as well. And with that said, we hope that the board will consider reinstating Ms. Elmer's license. Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of the state.
Good morning again. Respondent was issued a cosmetologist license initially on March 22nd, 1986, and that license was revoked in a decision effective September 27th, 2021, after an evidentiary hearing on an accusation was conducted. In that decision, the administrative law judge and then the board, which adopted his decision, found that during an inspection on July 29, 2019, respondent and her son, who assisted her, assaulted a board inspector who was there to inspect her salon. Respondent was pulling her arm while her son pushed the inspector out the door. Once they removed the board's inspector from the salon, respondent's son locked the door and the inspector was not permitted back in. The inspector heard respondent say words to the effect of, "You always come here and issue fines, and we've paid a lot of money because of you." And the inspector also heard respondent say words to the effect of, quote, "I hope you get in an accident and die," unquote. And, quote, "I hope your whole family dies," unquote. Prior to this incident, respondent had been issued 3 citations, 2 in 2012 and 1 in 2017. And those citations included charges that she refused an inspection, interfered with a board inspection, employed unlicensed individuals, and other health and safety violations. Respondent still owes the board $11,667.50 in outstanding fines and costs of investigation and in prosecution. And these fines must be paid prior to the issuance of a new or reinstated license. In her petition application, petitioner apologizes and now realizes that she should not have treated the board inspector that way. However, she did not address how her current statement and position can be harmonized with the statements that she provided at the administrative hearing on the accusation that led to the revocation of her license. And that concludes my statement, Your Honor. I do have Exhibit 1, which is the entire evidence package. I believe there's a copy of that before Your Honor and all of the board members. I'd like to mark that as Exhibit 1 and move it into evidence at this time. And I do have a description of the documents. It includes a petition, the petition for reinstatement, and the supporting documents submitted by petitioner. It includes petitioner's petition for reconsideration and the denial of that reconsideration that stemmed from the decision revoking her license. It includes the decision revoking her license. It includes the inspection report dated July 29th, 2019, a license certification, a hearing confirmation form, and a notice of today's hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. The exhibit is so marked as Exhibit 1 and contains the documents described. Is there any objection to Exhibit 1 being entered as direct evidence?
No objection, Your Honor.
Exhibit 1 is so entered. Okay, we've had statements. Do you have any questions you want to ask of Ms. Elmer?
Yes, Your Honor, I want to be clear, too. I do have a few brief statements. Will the board have an opportunity to ask Ms. Elmer questions as well?
Yes.
Okay. Let me begin with this question. Ms. Elmer,
Oh, let me swear her in.
sorry.
Thank you. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as required by law under penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Yes.
Please state and spell your full name slowly for the record.
My name is Kaying, Kaying. My last name Elmer, Elml.
Okay, thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Elmer, you recall an inspection in 2019 conducted by Ms. DeSutter, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay. Where was that inspection conducted?
in the salon.
Okay. What was the name of the salon?
Well, she's being translated.
She speaks English, so
We have to go one way or the other, so you need to use the interpretation.
okay.
Okay.
Okay, may I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. What was the name of the salon where the inspection of July 29th, 2019 took place?
Kaying Beauty Salon.
Kaying Beauty Salon.
Okay. And do you recall an inspector by the name of DeSutter conducting that inspection?
Yes.
Can you tell us what happened on the date of the inspection?
Nhưng tôi mà bị nhon tới chỉ cần xem phải của mà lỏ.
When he came there, I was not there, so the dog couldn't say, and that
Cần xài, cứ cần xài khó lực, khó lực không.
The girl that was working in there came in to get me.
And then what happened?
Cứ hai kia cứ muốn đồ giống thì cứ mà thả để có năng chống họ.
I told him to go outside with me to talk because there are several people inside.
Okay. And what happened after you did that?
Để thả kia nó nó.
We went to talk
Nó nó của chị cả cáiตัวอ่อนนั่น
and,
เชิญมัน
and told him that, I'm not allowing you to come and inspect the place today.
Okay. And was the inspector,
Okay. So we're
Was-
going to take an interruption real quick. A lot of phones are going off, so I'm going to take a moment, and if everybody can please silence their phones, make sure we're not having any
appreciate it, Your Honor.
interruptions.
Thank you. Was there a disagreement with the inspector when you spoke with her on this date?
Chúng chỉ là được nó có chỉ thành của sai chị, ok?
No. She said that if you don't allow me to come and see the place today, it's okay.
Okay. And did you, in fact, refuse the inspection on that date? Okay. Do you
Is that a
understand?
yes? I'm sorry. Yes or no?
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Thank you.
Do you understand now looking back on this incident, that your conduct was wrong on that date?
Yeah.
Correct.
And why do you say that?
Cho khả năng chống chị của chị xã có anh năng chống nhớ hộ chị của chị xã có năng bỏ
Because there
cú
are a lot
xã
of people there, and I didn't want her to see part.
của chị xã có cô không phải chị của chị chị
I just did not want her to inspect on that particular day.
Okay. And do you understand that the board inspector has a right to inspect at any reasonable time now?
yes
Yes.
Looking back on this unfortunate incident, how would you act, or what would you do differently now if you were relicensed and facing an inspection?
well đó cái là tôi qua cho nó là cũng nhớ xe của tôi chỉ là của tôi được kể lại đó chị
I apologize, but now I would welcome them to inspect anytime. At the time, my husband just passed away. I was also very stressful at that time.
Okay. Do you understand that the board's obligation, their primary duty is to protect the public, Ms. Elmer?
yeah
Yes, I'm aware.
And do you understand that a primary way that they do that is to inspect salons throughout the state of California?
Yes,
Okay.
I know.
đó chị
I apologize.
Okay. What can you tell the board to assure them that if you were reinstated, such an incident as this would not happen again?
nó chỉ có một nhà
No, I will not let it happen again.
Tell me why you say that. Give me more examples. Why is that?
cô nó lớn khỏi lại rằng
I learned my lesson. Yes,
thật chứ chỉ
I
có chú một
apologize.
ý dạng gì là
I will not allow it to happen again.
cái của chị nó là của chị đâu phải lựa nó xe kia
And ever since then, I lost my work, so I'm pretty stressful.
Okay. Would you say that the loss of your license has been devastating to you? Is that fair?
Yes,
Okay. So, Mrs. Ulmer, you're here today to try to reinstate or to request reinstatement of your license, correct?
chứ
yes.
đó cái một cái
I asked that I'll be given the license back.
And why do you want to return to the practice of cosmetology? Why does that matter to you?
cho khó khăn đó chứ khó của bao thế của cho năng thế của lũ cho năng thế
That's something that I know how to do and that I miss my clientele.
Okay. Do you enjoy practicing cosmetology? Is it something you love?
Yes,
cũng như cô thật đấy không làm tôi vậy
I have been doing that ever since I was in Laos,
thật cũng phải
when I was small.
When did you first perform cosmetology services in your life? You just mentioned Laos. When was that?
bé rằng ได้จังเสียตาเรา
I began to do it when I was 13, doing haircuts for the military personnel.
And what is your age now, Ms. Ohm?
เราเจอโดยจัง
I'm 66 years old.
Okay. There was a criminal case that was filed against you as a result of the incident with Inspector DeSutter. Is that correct?
อย่า
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever had a criminal case filed against you in your life prior to this?
ชิมัวดิ
No.
กูชิเนียบต้องดู
Have you-
I don't like to be complaints against.
Okay. Have you had any criminal trouble since this case was filed?
ยินชิมัวดิ
No, I don't have any more.
Okay. And this case was filed in the Fresno Superior Court, is that correct?
อย่า
Yes.
Okay. And isn't it true that on or about December 13th, 2021, the case was dismissed against you?
อย่า
Yes.
Okay. Were you required to do anything in order to have that case dismissed by the conditional settlement you entered?
กูยังเกิดจะสะเก็ดใจ
Yes, I had some counseling classes.
Okay. And did those classes include anger management classes?
Yes.
Okay. And how many anger management classes were ordered by the court?
เกิดยังแต่ที่เกิดกับตอนเตาดิกูเป้าเตา
Just one class.
How many times did you attend courses within that class?
ก็อ้อวันที่
12 weeks.
Okay. What did you learn from that course?
กูเกิดเตาหันจิกูเกิดอยู่อันน้ำเปล่าเตาเทียนกูเกิ
I
ด
learned a lot, so I would not become anger.
Okay. And do you still recall what you learned in that class today? Is it still fresh in your mind?
ย่าเกิดกับจะให้ดูตัวยังเทียก็ช่องเปล่าเตาเทียก็ให้ดูช่องเทีย
How to communicate with people calmly and not become angry. Yes.
Okay. And do you understand that the inspector was only doing her job on this day, that it was not a personal matter? Do you understand that?
อ๋อเป้ามา
Yes, I know.
nó thật thì sự đó cái chuyện này tôi nói họ lừa ta chỉ cứ chuyện này tôi thì phải thì cũng chỉ đi chuyện khác cho họ lừa thế sự đó.
I knew that she just came to do her work, but my husband just passed away, and I lost control.
Do you feel that if you were reinstated, there is any chance of an incident such as this happening again? Any chance?
Oh, chỉ bữa mua đi hả?
I will not allow it to happen again.
Going be the first and the last. Yeah,
The last time will be the first and the last.
yeah,
Thank you. I have nothing further. Thank you. So,
yeah. The first
Any
and the
questions, Mr. Spedich?
I do, Your Honor, but should the,
The board?
yeah, I was going to ask the board if they had any questions before I went.
Good morning. Thank you for your testimony and you taking responsibility for the anger action that occurred. In your letter, you state that the reason you reacted the way you did is that your frustrations with your salon's problems led you to overact. And so I want to talk about the violations that you were cited for and how you feel about those, and if you've been able to learn and correct these errors in your salon. Primarily the way things are stored, everything being labeled, cleanliness and sanitation laws. So I'd like to hear about your response and how you've been upgrading your practices if you were to be reinstated.
If I'm allowed to go back, then I will
Cũng như
obey
follow
the law
chú.
and follow the rules.
Đợt thôi đó là cũng như cũng chọn trong cha rồi năm mình xưa mà.
I will be, I do my best to be better than what I did.
Lấy của mình ha.
I always have labels. I apologize, I don't remember your question.
That's okay. I think we just want to, the root of the issue is the violations in the salon. And so if we were to reinstate, we would require that you took a health and safety refresher course of some sort. And I just want you to understand that that really is our main concern in the meat of the inspection to begin with, regardless of the assault situation. Thank you.
Của dân luôn nè.
I love people.
Của dân chỉ bố có một ai chỉ đó là lấy của dạo cả trong cha xứ đó của dân
I
nên
will
tôi cho nó tôi.
do better because I love those people and because they are people to come from the outside.
Okay, thank you. Any other members? Go ahead.
Good morning.
Can you just state your name?
Sure, my name is Reese Isbell. Good morning. So I had a couple of questions. First of all, I know there was some confusion related to your claim that you were refusing an inspection and the inspector's claim that you did not. You just answered today that you claimed that you did refuse the inspection. Is that correct?
Tôi xin là chỉ cả nên lo.
Yes, at the time I did not allow her.
Verbally, did you verbally say you were refusing the inspection?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Just for the note that the inspector disagreed with that. The other question is, are you performing, or have you been performing hair services since?
No.
Can I interrupt, sir? Are you asking since revocation? Is
Yes.
that your question? Thank you. Go ahead, answer.
No,
Okay.
I stayed home.
Okay. But you own a salon, or you have a salon?
Của chị mua đó là của tôi xài lúc của tôi hỏi là học sinh.
No, I don't have one. It just that belonged to my daughter, and I just work there.
Okay, because several of your notices from friends and workers for character references mentioned or referenced your performing on them. In particular, there's one that from Shant Sheklanian that said, I regularly take my children with me to Kay's shop to have my son's hair cut by her and her staff. Are you performing, is that your salon?
Thôi lúc xe hờ đó mà nhau của lúc ta chỉ ở nó ở học của bé chỉ của của nhà của hội của hồ sơ
At the time, yes, it was mine, but not on 2013. It is my daughter's.
2013?
cho mình là lúa của những chúng
Just in my kid's salon in 2013, I just came to work there.
Okay. Okay, so just, I bring this up because it causes me some confusion to understand whether or not you're performing services since the revocation. I appreciate your comment on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Go ahead. Just state your name.
no
Yolanda Jimenez.
the data during the data when the data
Your Honor, I just want to clarify for the record when the letter was written, because the letter at issue is not dated. So I don't know if we can elicit a response to that question. I know I'm
Sorry, Ms. Jimenez.
arrested in my questioning, but I would like to try to establish that for the record.
Ms. Jisbal, can you tell us what tab it was under?
Yes, it's at the end of tab 1. There's a series of letters that they,
It's Exhibit I, under tab 1.
yes, and so there's a letter from April 2023. Then there's the letter I'm referring to, which does not have a date on it. Then the next letter is from May 10th, 2023. And then the next letter does not have a date on it. The question is, if the letters were written before revocation, why were the letters written?
after problem
It was after the problem. It was written after the problem.
Can the interpreter use the microphone?
after the inspector
After the inspector came in.
Go ahead and move the mic over to the interpreter, please.
Thì gọi là tỏ cao và gì thế là cáiตัวquật tại là bạn số công ty đó không ạ?
yeah
The letters were written after the inspection.
Do you have to follow up or?
So that was after the inspection, but before the revocation?
yeah after the mốc đèn tới
After my license was revoked.
yeah
After your license was revoked.
yes
So, but the reference to regularly taking his children to get their hair done at your salon is in reference to what time period?
after tôi check after the mốc của đại tới là sao
After my license was revoked.
So were you performing hair services after your license was revoked?
no which one after the mốc đèn license tới which one
No, after my license was revoked, I did not.
yeah which one yeah
Okay, I'm just sorry, I'm getting some confusion because on the one hand, you're saying that you perform services for this father and his children after revocation, but then you're saying you didn't perform any services after revocation. So I'm just trying to get clarity.
no đã hai thầu của chúng hơi thầu của chúng ta đàn tới của chim mua đấy
And no, They're talking about while I was still working there, but after my license was revoked, I have never gone back.
Okay. And so that's where that's your belief at this point, where in reference to this letter.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for your candor.
Okay. Ms. Jimenez?
Yolanda Jimenez again. Can you tell me the words that you used to the inspector when you refused the inspection, please?
I didn't know her name, and I said,
Ma'am,
ma'am, we go outside and we'll talk. That's all.
Okay, I wanted that clarified for me because that doesn't sound like a refusal of the inspection. It sounds like there was a lack of communication there. So I wanted to make sure you said, can we go outside? But you didn't say, I'm refusing the inspection.
No, we're just talking about going outside.
haveเขา review มัน outside หรือเปล่า
Let me, the interpreter didn't understand it, so let me clarify with the deponent.
Today I reviewed the inspection as well.
After we went outside and I said to her, ma'am, today I'm refusing the inspection.
Yeah, because okay.
Because I was really depressed and I didn't know what to do.
Okay. Okay. Go review คุณเขาเนาะ Yeah.
And she responded, so you refused me today, and that's all.
After she was dragged out of the salon.
She wanted to tell her. Did you tell her?
No, we had not dragged her.
One moment. We need to be quiet in the audience. There's no speaking. There's no expression. There's no. If you need to take a moment and excuse yourself if you're reacting to the testimony, you may.
I'm reading. Sorry, I'm reading. I was just.
Oh no. There's persons in the audience.
Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh, Ms. Menace.
No.
I'm not referencing
I was like,
you.
I'm pulling from the documents. Okay.
Yes, I'm trying to keep the audience in decorum. So, do you know where you were? Do you know where you were with your translation, or do you need the question asked again?
I think I interpreted what she said, but I did not interpret the responses of the correspondence between the two of you.
That's fine. Well, I don't know. You want to interpret what our exchange was? You can.
Okay.
So, I mean, but I think you were in the middle of providing a translated answer.
No, I already finished her answer.
Oh, okay. Okay. Go ahead. Do you have additional?
No, I just wanted to clarify the timeline of when the actions happened.
Right by the door.
Yeah, outside the door, sir.
Outside of the door.
Yeah.
I have one more question.
Go ahead.
This is Kelly Funk again. My question is back to the violations, the cleanliness, the wax sticks, not disposed of, soiled towels not in a closed receptacle, non-labeled bottles, shampoo bowl not clean, excessive hair in drawer. Did all of that get cleaned up when your license was revoked? Where is the status of this salon now, and Do you understand that those cleanliness violations are the main concern if you were to be reinstated?
I'm aware of it.
Was it cleaned up in the days following, or where does it stand now?
Yes, I have done that.
So the salon is,
But, for currently, but, I don't go there anymore.
okay. It's run by somebody else now?
Dạ, tôi muốn cờ nè. Dạ, tôi muốn cờ nha, đúng không? Hay là
Well, that one was already closed down.
Okay. So you'd have a fresh slate if you started again with a clean space, and we would require that you would go through a course that would reiterate all of these important safety standards. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none from the board, Mr. Svedich, any follow-up?
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a couple.
Okay.
Ms. Elmer, how are you currently employed?
Which one nhau chế sao?
No, I'm just staying home. I'm not working.
Okay, and with respect to how the inspector ended up outside the salon that day, what is your statement about how that happened?
Dạ, cô chỉ nói trong cái tập hai repeat rồi sao?
I don't understand the question. Can you repeat that?
You said in your statement that the inspector went outside and talked to you outside the salon. How did she get outside the salon?
Nó tới nó cô thế nè.
She went outside with me.
Cô muốn đây chỉ là cá nè.
I went first, and she followed me.
Dạ.
Yes.
At any point did you pull her arm?
Nó cô chỉ tao chưa.
No, I have not.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Dạ.
Any follow-up from the board?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
This is President Callie Mae Pham. Ms. Elmer, is it correct that we just heard you say that you never pulled the inspector's arm?
Yeah, that's correct.
That's correct.
Cũng correct. Cũng muốn là video mà chụp của correct.
Yes, I did have a video recording, but I was not allowed to provide it.
Can I ask you, do you recall how the inspector got outside of your establishment?
Em nói tức là có cái này, cứ ở nó một đi nó đòn đỏ thế này.
Oh, we walked out together.
Yeah.
You recall that you walked out together?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, Ms. Elmer, I'll tell you now that it's concerning for you to say that, given the incident, the findings from the last judge that you were in front of. And in your letter, you acknowledged the incident. But today, as you're sitting in front of us, you are once again denying the full severity of it. So I want to give you an opportunity to speak more about that.
Mà do you want me to ask
She's asking Ms. Pham if she may use English, but apparently, Your Honor, you prefer to just keep the translation model going for the hearing. It might be maybe easier for her to answer this. There appears to be some confusion on this issue.
That's fine. We can take a break from the translation, but let's just, if it's a clear break, that's fine, but alternating back and forth isn't going to work. So go ahead. You can.
With the board's permission, we'd ask to do that. That's okay.
Is there any concern? Okay, go ahead, Ms. Pham. I mean, sorry. Sorry, Ms. Elmer.
What is her question?
Can you tell me again, or tell the board, what happened that day please describe it for us, because we'd like to hear it in your own words.
Yes. She come in, and then I was in the back, and one stylist said, "Hey, inspector here, can you come and see her?" So I walked toward the door. She just opened the door. I say, I do not know her name. So I say, "Ma'am, let's go outside and we talk." And then she said, "Okay." Then we went outside, and I told her the reason I don't want to inspect today, because I'm not doing good. My husband passed away, which is the truth. And then she said, "So you refuse my inspection?" I said, "Yeah." And okay, is she on her way? I am my way back in the salon.
Did you say anything else to her as she was leaving?
No, I don't say anything.
You don't recall yelling anything at her?
No. I don't hear anything. That's why how all the other part come to me that I yelling her. Why do I have to yelling her? What for?
So it's your testimony today that she was not pushed out the door
No,
and nobody grabbed her by the arm?
I don't grab her. Her arm already hurt by itself. I don't grab her anything. Yes.
I have nothing further. Thank you.
I'm very so sorry for all this accusation caused this matter. I do have to inspect them in the past. I never refuse because my husband there, this trip, he passed away. I don't know what to do. So that's why I refused that day. In the past, only my husband there, he talked to her, direct her where to go. So I apologize. I'm so sorry. The shop has been closed ever since then, and I please reinstate my license so I can work. I love the people. I make sure everything clean, always clean, because I come all the way to America, and I don't want to hurt the people. Even though after today, I regret. I'm sorry. So please understand.
Can I ask you
Yeah.
what's you're specifically sorry for?
I'm sorry for cause the problem.
And what is the problem?
They revoked my license. I cannot work.
Okay.
At that time, my husband just passed away. I'm so sorry for everything. It's just like everything blocked me in. So I apologize.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Anything else from the board? And council? Mr. Svedich?
Nothing from me, Your Honor, thank you.
Mr. Brown? Okay. Well, then that will conclude this hearing. We'll go off the record. Do you need a spelling of the, because there was one person mentioned?
The inspector's name also.
It's
Sutter?
Desutter, Desutter.
Thank you. And then from the reading, from Ms. Esposito.
At the bottom.
This one here?
Okay. Sorry.
Can we get a time ending and pages? No. I think we're off the record.
Time ending 9:58.
And estimated pages?
23 on.
Okay, thank you, everyone. That concludes this hearing. You have a good day. Take care.
Thank you. Please reinstate my license.
We're off the record now.
Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, sure. No problem. Yeah. Okay, sounds good.
Yes. I'm just opening it up.
Oh, yeah, perfect.
I was wondering where the witnesses were. Or what happened.
Ms. Castillo's case?
We can take a break after this.
Ms. Castillo, can you come up? Go and have a seat.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, we're going to go on the record. Good morning. We are on the record in the matter of the petition for reinstatement of Beatriz Adriana Castillo, cosmetologist license number K371315, petitioner. This matter is heard before the quorum of the State Board of Barbering and Cosmetology. The OAH case number is 2024-040213. Today's date and time is Monday, May 6, 2024. It is 10:01 in the morning. This matter is being heard by the board, a quorum, and I am Chantal Samponi, the administrative law judge assigned to hear this matter with the Office of Administrative Hearings. We are in Burbank, California. May I take appearances, please? Ms. Castillo, can you please state your name?
Beatriz Adriana Castillo.
Thank you. And on behalf of the state.
Good morning, Your Honor. Steven Svedich, Deputy Attorney General, representing the people of the state of California, pursuant to Government Code Section 11522.
Thank you. Mr. Svedich, would you like to begin in this matter?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
I have a brief factual statement of the petition and the case. Respondent was initially issued a cosmetologist license on July 21st, 1999, and that license was revoked on October 12th, 2020, pursuant to a default decision. The decision was issued after respondent failed to respond to an accusation timely or at all. The accusation alleged that her cosmetologist license had expired on July 31st, 2019, and that during an inspection in November of 2019, she was found to be offering cosmetology services which required a license. She had posted a placard, a licensee placard, indicating that she was licensed or representing that she was licensed, and the causes for discipline in the accusation were that she was operating without a license, that she attempted to obtain compensation as a licensed cosmetologist by fraudulent misrepresentation, and that she failed to pay fines associated with 2 prior citations. The violations in those citations involved health, safety, and cleanliness issues. Respondent does not have any outstanding fines or costs due to the board prior to the issuance of a reinstated license. And in her petition, she states that she's been keeping up with her training and practicing at home with training heads. She has been working as a part-time housekeeper and babysitter to make ends meet. And she has been focusing on learning how to clean and stay organized to address the issues raised in those citations and the accusation. We do have the petition package, which we'd like to mark and move into evidence as Exhibit 1. The package includes petitioner's petition for reinstatement with supporting documents that she filed with the board, a copy of the default decision and order with the accusation, citation letters and inspection reports from the prior citations, an unlicensed establishment warning letter, a license certification, a hearing confirmation form, and a notice of today's hearing. Thank you.
Marked as Exhibit 1, the documents just identified. Is there any objection to Exhibit 1 being entered into evidence as direct evidence? And that question is to you, Ms. Castillo.
What was that again? I didn't understand it.
It's okay. So all of the documents that are in this binder are the packet basically for today.
Okay.
They include the documents that brought us here, jurisdictional documents such as the petition to reinstate, but they also include the history that was just reviewed, your citation history, the default decision and order that resulted in the revocation of your license, and the notice of hearing, and other documents. So these have been marked, and these would come into evidence now, but I'm asking if you have any objection to these being admitted into the record.
I wasn't, I did not get the letter that it said that they have revoked my license. And now that I saw it in here, they got it right, but except the apartment number. That's why I wasn't able to like to stop it or say something, because I wasn't didn't know about it because it came to the wrong address.
Okay, that can be some information that you testify about, because that can explain what you want to state about why you did or did not request a hearing. But before we do that, because that would be your testimony, I would swear you in.
Oh, okay.
But before we do that, these are the documents that are being admitted into the record for the board to consider before it makes its decision. And I'm asking if you have an objection, which would be, well, it's not relevant, or the document's not accurate. Do you have any
Well,
objection?
yeah, everything that it's said there, it is true that it did happen.
Okay, I'm hearing that as no objection. That would mean that
Yeah.
this exhibit would come into evidence, the
Yeah.
packet.
Yes.
Okay, hearing no objection, Exhibit 1 is entered as direct evidence. Okay. Anything else on behalf of the state?
Nothing, Your Honor, thank you.
This is now your opportunity. I'm going to swear you in, okay?
Okay.
Please raise your right hand.
Oh.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as required by law under penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Please state and spell your full name slowly for the record.
Beatriz, Beatriz, Castillo, Castillo.
One moment. Okay. So this is an opportunity. You're not representing by counsel, you're representing yourself today, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so this is your opportunity to tell the board what you want the board to know. They've reviewed your packet, that's just been admitted into evidence, but if there's something you want to focus on, accentuate, make sure that they know before they consider your petition, including if you're stating that you didn't, it was mailed to the wrong address. But anything else about your rehabilitation, this is your opportunity to provide that information.
Well, I would just like to be granted, since I saw everything I've been keeping update, like in the cleanliness and all what went wrong in the salon. And yeah, I'm a little bit nervous in front of people.
Okay.
But yeah, I just have the opportunity to become a hairdresser again, since I was doing it for a long time. And now what I'm doing right now, it doesn't compare. It's not that I love what I'm doing right now, but it is ends meet. But I would love to go back as a hairdresser.
Okay. Are there any questions from the board? Go ahead, and can you just state your name?
Hi, I'm Colette Kavanaugh. What are you taking classes? Or?
Right now, I'm working part-time as a housekeeper. That has taught me a lot about cleanliness and labeling and safety, in people's homes. I'm pretty sure it's the same in the salon, and that has really, really helped me a lot.
Well,
But it's not easy job, but it is helping me so much to learn about the health and safety of anybody, especially in the salon for the clientels.
Are you taking like any other training or anything related to
Training,
hairdressing?
not right now. I believe, I feel like the cleanliness, since I do it every week, that for me, that's like a training for me, not something like classes, but that's like, it's an everyday cleaning,
Thank you.
keeping everything organized, yeah.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead. Just
Tamika Miller here. I have a question about your license. It says operating without a license. What license were you issued?
Is that at that time, it was from the previous owner that it was still on the wall.
Previous owner establishment license?
Yeah, the
What was-
establishment, I believe is that, because I always had mine, the personal one, the cosmetology one.
Okay, so you had a cosmetologist
Yes.
license? And there was a mention of electrology equipment. Was that just in the salon?
There has never been nothing that you mentioned right now.
It says
Oh, or, okay, sorry
Yeah,
about that.
uh-huh.
And then I had a question about, you said you were taking classes
Mhm. Well, not,
online?
well, usually YouTube, following people on social media, keeping update, mannequin heads, doing even stuff in my hair,
Okay.
like, you know, for the latest things that what's going on right now, like mainly videos on social media.
Because you mentioned that in cleaning in the homes, that's helped you become more organized and learning to clean homes. But you do know that there are guidelines under Board and Barbering of Cosmetology.
Yes.
Of cleanliness. Have you updated,
Um,
got updates on that?
If I will go back, labeling everything, you know, even to the hairspray, to the water, creams, everything. Now I know that, you know, like to keep everything organized.
Okay, that's fair. I
Mhm.
mean, public safety is very
Yes,
different
yes.
than, you know, cleaning and safety in
Uh-huh.
someone's homes where there are different guidelines.
Mhm. I just say that because I see my boss has everything labeled, you know, and she says this is very important because even though they know it's a water, but you need to label it. You need to, well, have everything labeled, you know.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions? Mr. Svedek?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Castillo, I do see that there's a number of different apartment numbers associated with you. So on the license certification, it says 204. On the default, it says 212. And on the accusation, it says 112. I just was hoping to clarify which was the correct
Yeah,
address.
right now, recently is apartment 204. I've been there for the last 3 years in the same complex, but in a different building. But where I was there the majority of the years when I had my license and delivered to my address, it was 112, not 212. Because it's a 3-complex apartment. So that's the reason that I never knew that my license was revoked until I tried to make an order and they emailed me back, there's problems with your license. That's when I came in and that's when I learned it was revoked. And that's the reason that I never got that letter, because it never got to the right box. To the apartments, yes, but not to the right apartment number. It came to 212 instead of 112.
Thank you. And I see here in the initial accusation, it says that your cosmetologist license had expired on July 31st, 2019 and had not been renewed. Was that correct, that the license had expired? At some
Yes,
point?
it was.
And why did it expire? Were you just not able to afford the renewal fee, or was there something else?
Just like just timing, like, I'll do it right now. I'll do it right now. And obviously I never did it.
Okay. And the accusation also alleges that there was a placard that was posted during the November 2019 inspection. What was that placard? I think there was a question about that already. Was it a placard for the establishment, or was it the cosmetologist placard?
The cosmetology one.
Okay.
Yeah, I told him that that was mine, but obviously it was expired. I told the inspector, like, I tried to renew it, but it wouldn't let me until I paid all fees.
Okay, so that was my question. It wasn't a placard for somebody else, it was yours?
Oh, no, it was under my name, yeah. It did say my name on it.
Okay, and it had the correct expiration date, you didn't change that, or?
Yeah, I didn't change anything, no.
Okay. And I do see that the accusation appears to have been served at the correct address at apartment 112. Do you recall getting a copy of the accusation saying that there were charges against you?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
It's just the actual default decision you didn't get?
Yeah, the default is the one that when I looked at it, and I told even my daughter, like, I never got this letter, but that's where I learned that it said 212 instead of 112.
Okay. And my last question is, what have you learned from the experience of having to go through this process of having your license revoked and then petitioning for reinstatement?
Well, I do miss cutting hair again, you know, like with the people in the salon, you know, because it was for many years I've been doing hair. And now that what I'm doing right now doesn't compare anything, you know. Housekeeping, babysitting is, I would love to go back to, if possible, to reinstate my license. I miss doing hair, the beauty industry.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anything else from anybody? Oh,
This is Kelly Funk. I just have to applaud your efforts in taking the cleanliness seriously and the housekeeping and getting more organized that way, and for settling up your debts. So good job.
Thank you.
okay, thank you. Well, then that concludes this hearing. We'll go off the record and we'll get a, do you have any spelling questions? Okay, we'll get a time ending and pages.
Time ending 10:16 and 10:08.
Thank you,
Okay.
everyone.
Thank you
We're
very
gonna
much.
be-
You are excused.
We're going to take a 10-minute break, and then we're going to be moving into closed session. So we're going to have everybody out of the room. And once we complete, we'll call everyone back in for the regular board meeting. Thank you.
So do I come back later,
No,
or that's it for right now?
Okay, good morning, everyone. We are reconvening in open session. I'd like to welcome everyone for joining us today. I also want to start by wishing everyone a happy Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. I hope everyone is able to join in the celebrations going on around the state and has the opportunity to learn more about how Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders have contributed to the unique history and diversity of our state, and as well as our industry, of course. So with that, I will move on to item number 4 on our agenda, board member updates. Would any of our board members like to speak? On whatever you would like.
I would like to let the board know and our audience that I am defending my dissertation on the 15th of this month.
Congratulations. All right, thank you for that. Any other board member updates? No? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to item number 5, update from Department of Consumer Affairs. I would like to invite Assistant Deputy Director Yvonne Durantes to speak to the board.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me. I have a few updates for you, but I am also happy to repeat at any moment. So I'm going to jump ahead right into it. So starting off with this week is Public Service Recognition Week, May 5th through the 11th at DCA, and DCA joins in honoring more than 3,000 DCA Board and Bureau employees dedicated to protecting California consumers. DCA thanks all employees and board members for their service and contributions to consumer protection. So please do look out for additional postings that we will be posting as well alongside this week. Last week, we did have a meet and greet with Secretary Moss as well on April 30th. DCA hosted an in-person meeting with Secretary Tamikwa Moss and executive leaders. It served as an opportunity for DCA leaders to meet our new secretary and hear her vision and priorities for the Business Consumer Services and Housing Agency and the Department of Consumer Affairs. Moving on to Federal Title IX financial aid funding. The U.S. Department of Education announced a new regulation that will affect non-degree school programs approved by boards and bureaus. Starting July 1st, 2024, the regulation will limit program length to 100% of the state's minimum hour requirement, making the minimum requirement the maximum. Non-compliant programs will no longer be eligible for the federal Title IX funding after July 1st of 2024. However, on April 15th of 2024, in response to questions from numerous states and schools, the U.S. Department of Education issued guidance regarding changes to program length restrictions, including exercising its enforcement discretion until January 1st of 2025. DCA will continue to work with U.S. Department of Education, the California Legislature, and executive officers on this important issue. Moving on to a licensee scam alert. DCA has learned of a recent increase in scams targeting licensees. Though the nature of scam varies, they are similar in that they involve individuals falsely identifying themselves as board employees and telling the licensee that they are under investigation. The scammers attempt to gather personal and/or financial information and may even demand payment. Boards are urged to be vigilant and protective and proactive in providing licensees with tips to avoid scams. Moving on to the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion update for DCA. On April 5th, DCA's DEI Steering Committee held its quarterly meeting. The committee reviewed and discussed the member application process, establishing subcommittees, and solicited input from the committee on how to expand language access, workforce development, and advancing DEI for the rest of the year. The next committee meeting will be July 26th, and if you do have any ideas or would like to contribute anything, whether it's to the agenda for discussion or any ideas for projects or anything, please do feel free to either let your executive officer know or myself. And as a reminder,
So that is the DEI committee's date, or you said the next date is July something?
yes, the next committee meeting
Committee
is the
of
26th of July.
Okay.
Yeah, so July 26th is the next DEI meeting. And so just as a reminder, there are various courses that are available on your learning management system. So if you do want to take any of these courses, they're free, you know, and they can be taken at your own pace whenever you're available to take them. And if you do have any issues with your LMS account, if you don't remember your username or your password, I'm happy to assist with that. Moving on to outreach. Last month, DCA's Office of Public Affairs staff participated in 2 Facebook Live events hosted by the Consulate of Mexico's Sacramento and Fresno offices during its Financial Education Week. Staff presented Get to Know DCA in Spanish and shared a broad overview of consumer licensing information. In addition, DCA joined an in-person resource event with the Consulate of Mexico in Sacramento. Another Get to Know DCA virtual event will also be held with the Consulate of Mexico in San Bernardino on May 14th. The consulate may have expressed interest in future event partnerships to share even more licensing and consumer resources. So further partnership to continue. Additionally, in the coming months, DCA will also be developing workforce development outreach opportunities for all boards to participate in. And so I look forward to providing additional information on that. But if you do have additional questions in terms of workforce development, please feel free to reach out. Looking ahead to travel expense claims. So as the end of the fiscal year comes to an end, we do request that you please submit your TECs, travel expense claims, no later than Wednesday, June 7th. And so claims submitted after this date will be processed. However, they will not issue payments until July 5th if you submit your claim after June 7th. All travel expenses and advances submitted to travel on or after July 1st will be processed for payment after the budget is signed. For more questions, please email either Member Relations or myself or Melissa Gear. You can also always ask Christy as well. And then moving on to our final reminder of the board member orientation training for June, which is the second one of the year and is also virtual. It is required for all members who have been appointed or reappointed within the last year and have not completed it. And so because of budget restrictions, the trainings this year are being held virtually. And so they will be held June 18th and October 22nd. And lastly, Form 700, we just want to make sure that we thank you all for your timeliness and for making sure that you submitted your Form 700. And so we reached nearly 100% compliance. And so big shout out for all of you for completing that, and just wanted to say thank you so much. And I will be happy to answer any questions if you do have any questions.
Thank you, Assistant Deputy Director Durantes. Are there any questions from our board members? Thank you again for your time.
Great, thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on now to agenda item number 6, discussion and possible approval of the February 26, 2024 board meeting minutes. So I'd ask our board members to direct their attentions to the draft minutes. Are there any changes that we need to discuss? Any edits or changes?
I move to approve.
Thank you, Member Isbell. We have a motion to approve the February 26, 2024 minutes.
Second.
Can we have a second? Okay, we have a second from Member Jimenez. At this time, we will open the floor for public comment. We thank you again for everyone's participation. We will be limiting public comment to 3 minutes per commenter. We will have an opportunity to comment on every agenda item, and if you want to speak about something that is not in the agenda, at the end of our agenda, we do have an item for items that are not on the agenda. So with that, can we open the floor for public comments on this motion? Are there any members of the or members in the audience wishing to speak on this motion? Okay, are we doing a hybrid meeting?
No,
Okay.
just in person.
Okay. Seeing no public comment, let's move ahead with call a vote.
Callie Mae Pham,
Yes.
Megan Ellis,
Yes.
Kelly Funk,
Yes.
Reese Isbell,
Yes.
Yolanda Jimenez,
Yes.
Colette Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Tamika Miller,
Yes.
and Steve Weeks.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you so much. All right, moving on to prime time, executive management reports. Christy, please take it away.
All right. We will start under item number 7 in your packets. We're starting with our administrations and operations report. We have 1 vacancy. I will say that I think all of our vacancies that are listed in this management report have already seen some progress, so we have even less vacancies than what we reported when we did these documents. We have successfully moved our office. We are now in the DCA main headquarters building. So where we normally have our meetings, we are just right above that on 2nd floor. So next time we have a Sacramento meeting, you all can get a tour of our new facility. We're super happy with being in the building. Next is our regular budget updates. We're obviously under expenditure freeze, so even though we have an exemption process, so we still can purchase our items that are needed, but we're just making sure we're being respectful of things that we only need absolutely to do our business. The next page is our fund condition, which is standard. We don't change much in our fund area. Any questions? Okay. Moving on to our licensing, exams, and disciplinary review committee. It shows here we have 6 vacant positions. I believe that's 4 now. It might even be 3. We just had another person start today, so that's going very well. We're finally seeing some light at the end of the tunnel with our vacancies. Our emails continue to be a huge volume of work for our office. At the time that we did this report, there was 1,720 emails pending about 8 business days. I checked this morning, it was around 800. We're still trying to get those positions filled on a limited term basis to assist just on this project of kind of a consumer information, our own consumer information center of people, some staff that will just do phone calls and emails. Those positions have just been very hard to fill because they're limited term. But again, we're seeing some light at the end of the tunnel, so hopefully those are filled soon.
Christy, can I,
yes.
quick question, on the deficiency letters going via email instead of paper, are the licensees able to just reply in that? Oh, okay, just curious.
And those go into a separate email box so that staff person can be assigned just to those emails. that are deficiency responses so we can get those processed quicker. 'Cause a lot of times it's somebody might have forgotten to attach their proof of training. That's the most common. And so now they can just reply right in email and we can get it processed pretty quickly. So next is our quarterly applications received information. We are up some. We have a total of 16,305 for this first quarter of 2024. We're never bored. And then the next page, on page 6, is our written exam results. I am happy to say that we are seeing improvements in our exam results. We are displaying these a little differently for you this time. We pulled out the re-exam test takers. We are finding that the people who are taking the exams more than once, who failed their first time, are struggling. They're taking it 4, 5, and 6 times. So that's those numbers on the right. And I had a conversation with our examination office at DCA as well as our exam vendor. We really talked about how we should really be judging our pass-fail rates. And in the past, we've been putting them all together. Now, we break them out a lot for you. We break them out by educational path, and we break them out by language. But we really, internally, we look at first-time test takers and second-time test takers, or any more. But we really need to look at our first-time test takers to really see how the test how people are doing on the test. So this column on the left is our first-time test takers, and you can see that those numbers are getting better than they have been in the past. So our barbers are still always the lowest, which is at an overall of 53%. Cosmetology is running at about 63%. And estheticians around 75%. They're pretty standard at what they have been doing. Manicurists 73%, electrologists 52%, and first our hairstylist license. We don't have very many of the hairstylist license. Only 3 have tested so far. So that's about a 33% for that brand new test. And then you can see on the green to the right that those are a lot lower. And then we move on where we separate it by educational background. So the first section on page 8 is our apprentice program. So the apprentice program for cosmetologists continues to be one of our lowest pass rates that we see. Our written exams for out of country, kind of all over the place a little bit. And then our school programs. So our school programs are looking pretty good. Barbering's at 53 overall, and cosmetologist is at 63. So those numbers are improving from before, which is good news. We just continue to have some of the problems by languages that you'll see on the next page. So for our apprentice programs, our cosmetology Spanish pass rate is only 22%. And that's for the first quarter. Our barber Spanish pass rate was only 8%. Now that's a small number. It was only 13 people, 13 that took the test for first-time test takers for the apprentice barber, and 58 for the apprentice first-time test takers. So it is a smaller number, but still, those are very low pass rates in that apprentice program. It will be at our next meeting that we plan to provide an in-depth report to the board on the apprentice program. We've had a lot of conversations, myself, with Department of Consumer Affairs and Division of Apprenticeship Standards. And so we will be putting together a very in-depth report on what we've found, because to be honest, we find more and more issues every time we look. And we are not funded for all of this research that we are doing. An apprentice is charged $25 for a license fee, and that's it. So it's the apprentice who's paying that $25 fee, but the sponsors do not pay a fee, they do not renew, and so we have no funding for the amount of work that's going into looking at the apprentice program has been extensive. And that'll all be displayed for you at the next meeting in a very extensive report of all we've found since the last time we talked about apprentice programs. All right, moving on, we have our out-of-country schools by language, and then we have our school programs by language. Again, Spanish continues to be low. Something else we're doing as well is providing more information on school pass rates to their accrediting agency. And then we're also going to be meeting with the Bureau of Private Post-Secondary. So if a school's accredited, the Bureau licenses them by accreditation, but if they're not accredited, they do not license them by accreditation. They have to go through the full process. So we've just recently, and by just recently I mean like this weekend, put together a report of school pass-fail rates by schools going back to 2019. We shared this information with the board maybe a year ago, and so now we've updated that, and we're going to start providing that information to the Bureau, to the accrediting agency, because at the end of the day, when we're looking at sunset in a couple of years, and we are going to be asked what we're doing about the Spanish pass rates. We don't have any control over quality of education. That is not our purview. We can't go into schools and sit and observe education or determine what they're doing. And so I'm thinking ahead to be prepared for sunset review on what are we doing to have these conversations with the other entities that are over these programs that have more authority than what we do, so that we can start looking at what can be done. I will tell you that I had 2 staff members, our special investigator, Christian Gutierrez, and our inspections manager, Tiffany Moore, who are both licensees, and Christian is Spanish speaking. And our vendor for the exam, PSI, sat down with both of them, and they went through hundreds of questions on our exam. And Christian going through the Spanish portion of it and being a licensee was definitely able to make some recommendations on the translation. So we're hoping that once that gets implemented, that could help our Spanish speakers some. But then that's about all. We're at a limit to what we have the authority to do. So, but we'll continue to push forward and let other entities know what we're seeing, and making sure we provide the information we can.
I have a question. Will the bi-school results be shared with the board?
Yes.
I just have to say thank you so much for any effort to work together and have more transparency with the Bureau of Post-Secondary. I think we run into roadblocks a lot with our jurisdiction, and I just appreciate all the effort. Thank you, Christy.
Christy, there was some mention or interest from the board members of seeing if the board can have or sit in on these conversations or kind of share our concerns. Is there anything we can do to facilitate a meeting or to have them attend one of our board meetings?
Absolutely. I think I could, I will talk to them. I work great with the Bureau. We all have limitations in state government. So I certainly do think that the Bureau is in good hands right now. And so, but I will talk to the director as well as the Bureau chief of the Bureau and see what we can do for our next board meetings, especially since we'll be in Sacramento.
Thank you so much, Christy.
All right. So moving on to page 12, you see our licenses issued, 8925 for our last quarter. And then the next page, we have our license issued over the last 5 years, and then our current license population of 640,034 licensees. So we're busy. On the next few pages, we have our survey. Some of you may remember, and some of you may have not seen this before, but we do a survey at renewal time that asks, are you an independent contractor? Are you an employee? And then it asks establishment owners, do you have an employee? Do you have independent contractors? Well, then when COVID hit and the governor waived the renewal fees, obviously nobody had to renew for a couple of years. So nobody answered the survey. So now that we're back on track answering the survey, we will continue to provide this information in your board packets. So this is the results of that survey. The first question is to establishment owners to mark all that are applicable in your establishment. So you can see that some people don't mark it. And some people, 50% of the people that answered, which was 173 people, stated they have independent contractors within their establishment. On the next page, it talks about the indicate your employment status. So this was something that asked how often you're working. Are you working full-time, part-time? And again, this is a legislatively mandated survey that was done several years ago, and one of the things to try to find out was how many people have their license still that aren't working, because those of you who are licensees know that you're going to keep that license forever, right? Most people keep their license forever even though they're not working anymore. So that was the intent of that question. And then the next one is indicate your employment identification. So this is an individual licensees, and this is just for a quarter, right? Is that right? Quarter three. So we had a total of 30,588 individuals answer that question. 22% said they were employees, a little over 36 said they were independent contractors, 8.7 were salon owners, and then 31% were not working in the industry. And then our last two questions are licensees identified as full-time employees and licensees identified as part-time employees. And that is if they were an employee or an independent contractor. Any questions? All right, next we're going into our disciplinary review update. We just had a hearing on April 22nd. So the Disciplinary Review Committee appeals chart for fiscal year 23-24, this is the chart we would have displayed for this committee meeting because we keep it by quarter. However, we wanted to add in this information at the bottom since we did just have a hearing. So this is how many numbers are pending as of last week, probably. So you can see LA only has 33 appeals, San Diego has 44, and North has 29. So we probably won't be having a DRC committee hearing real soon. We'll wait for those numbers to get a little bigger. Probably San Diego will likely be our next, but those of you who sit on the DRC know that we tend to have a lot of no-shows, so we don't want to, pay for a hearing for 44 individuals and only have 20 show up, because then it's kind of not cost-effective. So we'll wait to get a few more, and then we'll be reaching out on when we can do another DRC. All right, moving on to our enforcement report on page 19. We have one vacant position in our enforcement, and I think we filled that. Nope, we are in the process of filling it. We listed our probation cases, our Attorney General's office. We have 25 cases currently that were referred to the Attorney General in our last quarter. Our complaint intake is at the bottom. So we see we average around 13 to 1,400 complaints a month. Page 20 shows the breakdown of those complaints and what category they fall into. And then page 21 is our enforcement statistics that go through all of our workload that we have in this division. Any questions on any of that? All right, we'll move to page 23, which is our schools inspections and site and fine report. In our inspections unit, we only have one vacancy. This is super exciting. It's San Bernardino. If you know anyone in San Bernardino, we haven't been able to fill that position. It just seems like an odd area that nobody wants to come work. And it's huge, so put the word out. And in our site and fine unit, we had 3 vacancies. I believe those 2 have been filled already. I believe we only have 1 left. Our schools report, we have 265 approved schools with 9 open cases that we are investigating. The board received 34 cases in our 3rd quarter. We've listed a chart of externs just to show you how many schools and how many establishments are currently participating in the extern program. Next page is our inspection and citation statistics. The vacancy that we do have in this unit and the vacancies that we've just recently filled were in our unit that processes citations. So we're a little behind in that, but we've actually got some help from other staff that used to be in that unit. So hopefully we're seeing those numbers reduce here, and it should look better in the next quarter. And of course, our inspection numbers are looking good because we're almost completely fully staffed in the inspections unit. So the next page shows our citations. We broke this out by the number of inspectors because we wanted to show you, like if you look at March 2024, we had 19 inspectors and we did 1,340 inspections compared to July where we only had 15 inspectors and 754 inspections. So we just wanted to show you like how much more we do when we are fully staffed. And then the number of citations issued, that 371 under March, that's the lower number that we should see increase now that we've redirected some internal staff to assist in that process. And then we have our requests for payment notices. You can see those are going very well. We do have a vacant position that we just filled, but we do have one individual who dedicates most of her time to this process and is doing a great job in keeping that up to date. And then lastly for this unit is our payment plans. And then we added a section for violations for no fines assessed. So this came up at our last meeting. It was kind of asked, like, sometimes we modify citations or violations within the cite and fine unit. And so we wanted to provide some information on exactly what we do. So we looked at 2023 where we had 22,901 violations being cited. And of those violations, the fine amounts for 6,667 were reduced to 0. So that, and then we listed the examples of what we reduce. So we might reduce it for various reasons. It could be that we don't have the evidence, like maybe the inspector noted it on the IR but forgot to take a picture, or maybe the picture wasn't clear, or maybe it could have been a mistake, it could have been a first offense and that was their only offense, so we'll give them a no fine assessed. So there's different reasons why the cite and fine unit will do no fine assessed, but this is the information we wanted to provide you on what we do.
Quick question on page 25 again. On page 25, on request for payment notices sent, we have notice 1, 2, and 3. Are those 30-day incremental?
Yes.
And is it done by recency or contractual? Is there time between last payment or where they should be on the actual contract?
It's from the due date that was on their citation.
So it's contractual. Okay, so by 30 days they're going to get 31. They're going to get sent.
Yes.
I have a quick question. Okay. Back to the school cases.
Mm-hmm.
9 open school cases, and there were 34 cases in Q3 last year. Does that mean those were looked into and then closed?
Yes.
All but the 9?
They were likely referred to the Bureau of Private Post-Secondary.
Oh, okay.
We get a lot, I mean, because students know the board and not necessarily the Bureau, we get a lot of complaints that are, my teacher's not doing a good job. And so that's not within our purview, that is the Bureau's purview, so we forward those to the Bureau.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Next, we have our outreach update. So you know we have been limited on travel, but we're still trying to get the word out. We have still done our Meet the Employer events. That's our personnel liaison handles those. Danielle's not here, but she's the one who got us started on those, and it's kind of taken off. We've done, these were with the Stockton Unified School District. They allowed us to do virtual meetings. And so hopefully we continue those. It's not only good for our board, but it's also good for our department as we try to explain how to get a state job, which is sometimes very complicated. Our listservs, that's our emails that we send out to everyone. And then we have provided you with all of our postings. And I think our postings, as you all know, Natalie has left us. We have a new person that has taken over outreach. And I think we're still doing pretty good at that. All right, next we are going to go to page 35, which is our strategic plan update. Just some highlights on our strategic plan that we continue to work on. One is, of course, our Meet the Employer on how to get the word out for vacant positions. We have completed our SB 803 cleanup regulatory package. It was filed with the Office of Administrative Law. We'll talk about that in a little bit with our regs update. Our pre-apprentice training course, the pre-apprentice training course is completed and it's amazing. We just have to finish up our regulations in order to implement that. But I wonder if we could do a demo at the next. We could probably do a demo at the next meeting and show you what it looks like. 'Cause and Allison worked on that for us. We have developed and released a simplified Chinese webpage to get more information out now that we're doing that examination, or our examination in simplified Chinese. We're also looking to, this isn't on here, but we're looking to increase our languages that we do translate. We've recently had a very large increase in Ukrainian licensees, so we're looking at getting some of those some of our top items translated, especially our health and safety regs. So we're looking at our contract was specific to certain languages, so we're looking to try to expand that contract so that we can include different languages, especially the ones that we see increasing.
And Christy, I think you mentioned it when you talked about our Spanish language questions, but I would encourage that we continue to invite licensees to actually speak on the translation to make sure that it's language that is phrased
yes.
In an understandable way. So I know you already do that in other places. It would be great if we continue that, and if anything, a suggestion would be if we could establish, it doesn't have to be formal, but some kind of database or a working group of kind of licensees in different languages, so that we know, okay, let's send it here, everything that we do, so it becomes kind of part of our process. Let's run it by
That's great.
the licensee who's familiar with this language to make sure that it's appropriate for our industry
Right.
and
Yep.
our education levels. Yeah.
Definitely, sounds good. Let's see. We are, you'll see task 4.3.3 is something that we're very excited about. We are looking to go mobile with our inspections. This is something Carrie is working on every day. We received a grant, could you say?
Yes, we did.
Our board and another board were able to get funding through a grant to develop an automated inspection process. So it's very fast-paced. We're hoping it launches in September.
Yes.
But it will basically be our inspectors using an iPad or a tablet, taking their pictures, putting in information, and immediately emailing an inspection report or inspection report to the individual right then and there. It's very exciting. It's very makes us very nervous. It's going to be quite the change for staff. They've been paper and pencil forever, and so this is a huge project that Carrie has taken on, and we'll keep you posted because we're hoping to launch in September. And it's going to drastically reduce paper going in. Our inspectors have to mail their inspection reports, overnight mail, weekly. So it's just going to change a lot of internal processes as well as what our inspectors do in the field.
Long overdue.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wave of the future.
Yes. We're very excited. And let's see. We continue to publish our Barber Cosmo update, and again with our Meet the Employer. So just some highlights of our strategic plan. The strategic plan does go till 2027, so we still have a lot to do, but we just want to let you know that we are doing it. And that's it.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you for that, Christy. Let's move on to public comment on this agenda item, the executive management reports. Just to reiterate, again, we are limiting public comment to 3 minutes per commenter. And if you'd like to comment on not this particular agenda item number 12 is items not on the agenda. So if you have a broader comment or an issue that's not in the agenda, that's when we would invite you to come up and speak. At this time, we will take public comment on the executive management reports. Are there any members or members of the public who would like to speak? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to, oh, I apologize. Please come on up.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Ken Williams, and some of you might know me. I'm a former board member. I'm also a salon owner, and I'm also a school owner. So I wear a lot of hats. I believe this is going to be my last board meeting because although I don't look it, I'm 68 years young. My school has been in my family 95 years. And I think I'm going to share some humor with you. But before you accuse this of being me, this is not me. This is my father. And this is my father at the grand opening of our school way back in 1964. So you know, see, so I got a little history. I am a strong advocate of this board, as Christy knows. And I hope my school lasts another 100 years almost. But there's a lot of challenges in this field. You all know it. A lot of it doesn't get spoken on. But I actually, I required all my students, I have 51 students, I required all of them to log on to the webcast today. And they have questions, and it's in my cell phone. But one of the questions is, why did the board reduce the course to 1,000 hours? A lot of them are now training, and they're concerned that they're coming out of school unqualified. I can tell you that's a fact. And it's not surprising that the pass rates have gone down, because if you cut 1,000 hours, I mean, if you cut 600 hours, 500 for the barbers, well, what are you going to get? You're going to get a less trained candidate for the board. So that's what is happening right now. Our students are failing, and our students are coming back to me, the graduates, recently, because we, you know, SB 803 just took effect. This is the first iteration of what it looks like on the other end of 1,000 hours. The salon owners, of which I am one, are complaining. The students are coming out untrained. And I almost wanted to turn around and go home today, because as you see, there are not a lot of licensees here. There may be a lot online that are wanting to watch. And don't misunderstand me. All of you are very well qualified people. We need a state board. But I've been around long enough to see the state board sunset it. I went through that. It sun rose, it came back. And yet there's so many differences of opinion. And I know I don't have a lot of time. But I wish Christy is near retirement age. I don't want you to retire yet. You can't. We need you, and we need all of you. And see, if I ask you to raise your hands, how many of you have been in a school? None. One? Well, see, huh? You went and visited school? No, we went to
That's time.
You went to school.
All right.
But you haven't been out to visit schools.
Thank you so much, Mr. Williams.
You're welcome so much. I hope I have a listening ear in here, and I hope that the board one day gets an A in my book.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Okay.
Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak on this agenda item? Yes, please come forward.
Hi.
Hi, good
Hi,
morning.
my name is Mary Ruiz, and I just want to speak following up what he was talking about, because I think it's really important that you guys understand the influence that this has on students and educators, because as an educator in training myself, I hope to work at RCC, but I feel like we're tied, our hands are behind our back in some aspects, because we're really limited now on what we can cram in and how much information and preparedness that we can give our students to go out into the world and do right by the consumer and do right by our clients and make sure we're providing the best opportunities and services and safety for our clients. And by cutting those down any bit more, or to the point that they've already been cut down, it's putting the clients more at risk than it's really taking away from the stylist. Like, we're gonna go out there and we're gonna do what we can with what we're given, but who's really gonna suffer? It's gonna be the people that sit in our chairs. So I think that's something that should really be thought about by the board. So thank you for the time. I appreciate it.
Good morning. I'm Seth Kaplan, Crew Institute, Cosmetology and Barbering. I was wondering, since there are social media posts that show the differences between hairstyling license and a regular license and things like that, maybe there could be a social media post that shows the outcome of licensure for apprentices. Maybe the board could post that.
We do post it online.
You do, okay.
It's not on social media.
Okay, that's good to know. And the other thing is that we currently are at 1,200 hours. We only teach barbering. We could teach others, but we choose to only teach barbering. We do have a very good state board passing rate, a high one. The extra 200 hours, we pretty much use for all state board and to get ready for it. And I think that you guys should be really aware of the fact that it's probably going to suffer. The rates are probably going to go down for some of the schools that are probably bringing up a lot of the others, because we really do focus a lot on it. Hopefully we'll be able to get the students to do it at home, to do it as homework outside of the 1,000 hours that they're supposed to be doing. We'll see, but that's what I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Thank you.
Thank you. It looks like, do we have one more member of the public coming up? Hello.
Good afternoon, board. I am Robbie Berry. I have a question. The reason for cutting down the hours from 16 to 1,000 hours, is that going to make it more easier for the board to have eyes on cosmetologists, or for the student to take continuing educational classes? That's a question. Do anyone have an answer?
So normally we don't answer questions during public comment because it's comment and not debate with the board.
Okay.
However, I will tell you that the legislature is who chose to reduce the hours in our sunset hearing. I mean, in our sunset bill.
Okay.
The board did support that bill.
Okay.
Had that bill not passed, the board would have ceased to exist. So just know that it was the legislature that reduced the hours, and the board would have to pursue legislation to increase that, or the industry could.
So was there a question, like a survey that was done for
No.
the hours? Okay. Thank you for my question, answering that.
Really quickly, good morning. Fred Jones with the Professional Beauty Federation. I just want to underscore a lot of the comments and keep it front and center in your mind that the legislature was the one that cut down the hours. They didn't make it mandatory, but the market incentive is for schools to reduce to the lowest common denominator, or they'll lose potential students. So I think a prior school owner is going to be moving to 1,000 hours soon. So you're going to continue to see the ripple effect. And regarding the statistics that the executive officer shared, the two areas in which scores have been low are both hair, barbering and cosmetology. Why? Because of SB 803. It reduced the hair licensing of cosmetology from 1,600 to 1,000 and barbering from 1,500 to 1,000. And what you heard from one of the barber school owners is when he moves from 1,200 down to 1,000 so that he can be competitive with other schools that have also reduced to that lowest common denominator, what is he going to do with that 200 hours that was dedicated to prepare for the state board license exam? He's probably going to not cut that. He's going to cut services and health and safety and other things that will have an impact on future clientele, the people that you're tasked with protecting. In a minute, we're going to talk about a bill that's the legislature in their infinite wisdom are going to add a new mandate to schools to teach textured hair within that 1,000 hours. So we're being buffeted from both sides from our policymakers. We just hope the state board is able to provide them an industry perspective whenever they come up with their infinitely crazy ideas. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wish to speak on this agenda item? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to move on Okay, were there any additional comments from the board members? Okay, we're going to move on to agenda number, item number 8, and just to let everyone know where we're headed, we are going to be taking a lunch break at noon, so we're going to continue on, but at 12 we're going to stop for a 30-minute lunch break. Okay. All right, agenda item number 8, report on the April 22nd, 2024 Licensing and Examination Committee meeting. I'm going to turn it over to Chairperson Steve Weeks.
Thank you, Madam President. I appreciate it. I'll be quick because I really enjoy my lunch. I'd like to get on to that. But the Licensing and Examination Committee met on April 22nd, and I want to thank the committee members for taking time out of their day for our rather quick meeting at that time. But we were primarily dealing with cleanup language that was necessary to close any possible loopholes that may exist that could allow previously disciplined establishment owners to somehow re-enter our system without our knowledge. Such a person could be undisclosed to our board if shielded from disclosure through the use of a corporation or other business entity, where we currently do not require that affiliation be disclosed. This could require regulation changes to identify those individuals, and our committee asked staff and certainly council to review this situation and report back to us at our next committee meeting so we can bring any recommendations back to this board at a future date. Right now, the committee does not have any recommendations to the board currently, but expect to get back to you by maybe the next meeting.
Okay, we're going to now move on to item number 9. Oh, sorry, Christy, did you have anything to add to that?
No, I don't.
Okay. Member Weeks did an amazing job. Thank you. Okay, no pressure. All right, moving on to item number 9, report on the March 25th and April 22nd, 2024 Legislative and Budget Committee meetings. I will turn it over to our chairperson, Reese Isbell.
Good morning. As President Pham just mentioned, the Legislative and Budget Committee met a couple times since our last board meeting, specifically on March 25th and April 22nd, to discuss the follow-up from the last board meeting and our decisions then, and any issues that had come up since then related to the bills at that point, as well as other bills and recommended positions regarding active legislation. I will turn it over to Christy to walk us through some of the bills that we've been discussing.
Okay, so we have a few bills that are just updates, and then we do have a couple that we'll need some decisions on today. AB 1328 is the Cosmetology Licensure Compact. That is, it was a 2-year bill. We are under the understanding a hearing is coming on this bill, but it has not been set yet. So we will wait to see if that happens. AB 2166, this is the hair types and texture bill. This bill has moved from the Assembly. It actually has already moved into the Senate. And the board had taken a support position on this bill back in February at our board meeting, and no other changes have happened to that bill since then. Next is AB 2412. That was the bill that we were watching, which was a California Body Contouring Council. This bill has been pulled by the sponsor and the author. I did have a conversation with the author of that bill. There was going to be recommended amendments from the committee that was placing this under barbering and cosmetology law. That is not what the sponsor had intended. So they pulled the bill hoping to work further on it. They reached out to me to see, get some input. So it was a very brief conversation, but I anticipate we'll have maybe further conversations on how they want to move forward. Of course, our concern is the fact of so many licensees in our industry that are doing body contouring that would be impacted by this type of bill.
Christy, if I may, this is probably moot, but in our minutes from the last meeting, we had made a motion to prepare a letter regarding our thoughts on that. Did we do one, or is it moot?
It's moot, so we knew that that bill was not moving forward. Our next bill is AB 2444. This is the bill that is talking about updating information that is sent to our licensees regarding some labor information. And so this bill started out as requiring a video. That has now been changed. The board did take an opposed position back at our last meeting. The bill has since been amended. It now requires basically that our certain information be embedded into our actual applications. So right now you have a link on our website that says you have to click on that link, and then you have to sign that you have read your workers' rights informations. And now it's being that we need to build that into our actual applications. And so we talked about this extensively at the committee meeting. We talked about the importance, it's obviously a very important bill because there are things that are changing in the labor world, especially for manicurists, with an exemption ending for AB5, where they will have to do a certain test to determine their worker classification. At the April 22nd meeting, we talked about, the committee determined that requiring the board to provide basic labor law information as part of the application would be a significant cost. I do believe our costs are in our analysis that we have further back. I'm just going to turn to that real quick.
Yes, you have a fiscal impact of $614,171 at a minimum.
Yes. So obviously a substantial impact. I have had a conversation with the DIR. It was a very informal conversation, keeping in mind that the DIR is a department under the governor's office, so they don't really operate like a board. Their process would be to go to the administration and then handle how they process their bills that way, much like Department of Consumer Affairs would be involved in sort of a, towards the end of the legislative process, they would do an enrolled bill report. And so they have concerns as well with this bill, the DIR. One of the major concerns being is the costs involved, the amount of paper involved. Right now, our workers' rights information that we have online is 16 pages. Now, our workers' rights information that we have online contains some photographs, it contains some little pop-outs of examples, and we do provide that in multiple languages. But that information covers worker classification, tax obligations, income, overtime and tips, and piece rate versus commission, wage claims, filing a lawsuit, workers' comp, FMLA, immigrant worker rights, right to refusal, and local, state, and federal ownership requirements. So the bill is not clear what information is intended to be placed into our applications. So we are assuming that it is this information. So even if we take out all the fluff of our pretty document and the pictures, we're still, we counted that down to about 12 to 13 pages. Our establishment application right now, which we receive the majority of in paper, is 10 pages. So that's going to increase the establishment application from 10 to 20-something pages. That's going to have to be scanned, that's going to have to be submitted to our cashiering unit, and then are we getting the individuals to read that information because it's in paper and on their application. So staff still has concerns with this bill. I have concerns that there is a section in this bill that is very specific to DIR, but it's been placed in the Business and Professions Code. I think the DIR should have to be responsible for their own work. We're happy to provide them with a list of email addresses or work with them on sending out information. But for laws to be placed in our laws makes us appear that we have the answers to those questions, and we do not have the answers to labor questions. And so as you saw, we have 1,700 pending emails right now. If people are now going to be getting extensive information, we just can't help them. And so that's another concern from a staffing standpoint on this bill. Again, I've never seen someone else's department's laws put in our business and professions code, and DIR had that concern as well. So with that, I leave it up to the board for discussion.
Thank you. And for the information of the board, we have had extensive conversations at our committee meeting about this bill. We also had some extensive public comment and a letter in support of the bill. I'm curious, since our last meeting, have we had any further communications with the author's office?
We have met with them. I'm sorry, I have not had communication with the author's office. I've had communications with the sponsors of the bill who are here today.
Okay. Thanks. Do we know if there's any communication with the author's office?
I'm not aware.
Okay. One of the things we talked about in the committee is that while we appreciate a lot of the ideas behind this communication getting out to our licensees, the concern being that it ends up fiscally, it's the wrong approach. It costs a great deal of money for this extra paperwork for our office when potentially that type of work within DIR could be done in other ways and a lot cheaper. I think we also are concerned that this is a new mandate for our work that doesn't fall under our purview. As Christy was trying to say earlier, our purview is consumer protection, and we don't get into labor laws in relation to our licensees or their salons. So it really is taking on a whole new area. Now, there are a lot of groups who are behind this bill, good sounding groups doing good work. It's not coming from labor. It's coming from a lot of organizations that want to see this happen. And I'm curious about why, if this is related to labor laws, why we're not seeing it come from labor. And so I would encourage those who are in pursuit of this type of legislation to perhaps consider alternative directions for how they might utilize the funding in more particular ways of direct outreach with the licensees that they're hoping to do. In particular, I know a lot of this is coming from the API community and concerns around language access for the labor laws. And I think in particular direct outreach within those communities, particularly the Vietnamese community, in alliterating the concerns around the law and their rights and so forth, might be more effective in a targeted approach rather than a statewide approach that impacts our board's work in a way that not only increases the amount that goes into it, but also the extensive hours that our board will have to work on this. That is not to say that in any way that we are opposing the idea behind this legislation, and completely understand the interest in the legislation. At this point, at our last board meeting, we hadn't had a chance to have a fuller discussion, but we did take an opposed position. And since then, we've had several conversations at the committee level with that extensive conversation. I think our committee is still recommending an opposed position even with these changes. And I would love to hear from the rest of the board if there are any further thoughts on that. And then we can I don't know if we need a motion to continue in opposition, or?
We do, since the bill was amended.
Okay, so then, let's have a discussion, and then we can make a motion on where we want to go, and then we can have public comment. I know there's people here in public comment ready to speak, so we have that going.
So, Member Kavanaugh, Member Ellis, and I are on that committee, so we've talked about it quite a lot. I would love to hear thoughts from the other board members who are not part of that conversation. I will point out, in reading the text of even the amended, it seems like I'm reading that the DIR is responsible for disseminating this information, looks like one time before July 1st, 2025, whereas for us, if it were to be inserted into our application and renewal forms, I don't see any limitation on that. That could be going on for forever, which seems like that is too broad, considering the cost, the amount of paper for information that, again, is not targeted to the people we most want to help with this information. And so the language of it, the way it's written, is still troublesome to me, because again, it's the way it's phrased, it looks like it's an ongoing obligation, so that whatever significant cost we have is going to be ongoing, so that just compounds everything else that we do. And again, it doesn't make sense for it to be an ongoing obligation for us, whereas it looks like it's written that DIR needs to do it one time. So, you know, I can't, with the way it's written, support it, considering all the other obligations and considerations that the board is trying to pursue to advocate for consumer safety. And I have to be mindful of that, even though I agree that the message and the intention is so important. I just, this is something that I think we need to brainstorm other solutions, and I don't mean to suggest that the conversation should end there, but that but the bill in its current form, you know, my position, I agree, would still be to oppose. But that's my beginning thoughts. Again, we've talked about it a lot. I would love to hear from the other board members.
This is Kelly Funk. So are we talking about sending out information that emboldens our licensees to know about the labor laws that should be enacted in the establishments they're in? Is that right? It's not going to establishment owners, it's going to the manicurists themselves about the law.
All of our licensees.
Establishment owners and manicurists?
And cosmetologists.
Oh, everyone.
Everyone.
Okay. I guess I was just looking for clarification, and then we oppose the logistics of this current bill, but that we're open to. I'm curious to hear the public pleas for this, whether they oppose or otherwise, so that we can help work together on what it is that you're looking for. But I agree that the logistics of this are just too much for us to bear unlimited time frame.
What we can do, if it would be helpful to the other board members. First, can I ask any clarifying question? Does any other board member have questions about the bill itself, just so we have a fuller picture of what we're discussing?
For one aspect, because the manicurists are having a law change for the ABC test, that there's information that they need to be told. And that would be DIR have to develop that language. But it's requiring us to put the information into our applications, which is because we have, remember, 630,000 licensees and making our applications.
Right. Do not forget about that other 10,000. I apologize. Okay, great. Any other clarifying questions? I think in this case, it sounds like the board members would be helped by having public comment first before we decide on anything. So with that, I'm going to open public comment. And again, a reminder, we are limiting public comment to 3 minutes per commenter, and we invite you to come up at this time. Thank you.
Excuse me. Okay. So I'm Catherine Porter. I've been here before, and I've commented at committee meetings. I'm the senior policy consultant for the California Healthy Nail Salon Collaborative, who is one of the co-sponsors of this bill. I came up with a written statement, but to make sure I don't run out of time, I would like to speak with some of the issues raised in this meeting. The suggestion of direct outreach to licensees, I think is a wonderful idea, but I can't imagine the cost of that compared to sending something out. I mean, if that was possible, we would love that, direct outreach, and having town halls where 500,000 licensees were reached. But I mean, I frankly don't see that happening, and it seems like sending out by mail is the most cost-efficient way. And also regarding mail, we'd also love it if this information could be sent out to all individuals just via email or just via text. But hard copy mailing is the only mode of communication this agency has for all of its licensees. Giving phone numbers and giving email addresses is voluntary for licensees. So there's no way of disseminating information to everyone who needs the information. So I also want to speak to the issue of the 16 additional pages. We've had several conversations, and we will consider amending the bill so it's made clear. We envision something more like 2 to 3 pages, and in doing the math, that reduces the cost to approximately $75,000, down from $600,000. So those are just sort of my top of mind comments on some of the information and ideas shared here. I also
30 seconds.
It's been almost 3 minutes already? Wow. Okay. And one final thing is, I know this is to a certain extent outside the purview of this board, but I know that the board has social media and other postings around violence, domestic violence, all of which contributes to the safety, the health, the well-being of licensees. And if licensees feel safe in their workplace, they feel like they're being fairly treated, justly treated, they're more likely to be more comfortable and do a good job for consumers, which I know is your #1 concern. So I hope you all will reconsider. We enjoy interacting with Christy. We've come up with some great ideas, and we hope we can continue to work with the board. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak on this agenda item?
Xin chào, tôi là Joanne Nguyễn, là một nhân viên tiệm nail đến từ Los Angeles với hơn 8 năm kinh nghiệm.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Joanne. I'm a nail salon worker from Los Angeles with over 8 years of experience.
Tôi yêu nghề của mình và nó thể hiện được cơ sở khách hàng trung thành của tôi. Tôi may mắn được phân loại thích hợp là nhân viên W2 với các quyền lợi sức khỏe và thời gian ốm đau và được trả lương.
I am fortunate. I love my craft and it shows in my loyal customer base. I am fortunate to be appropriately classified as a W2 employee with health benefits and paid sick time.
Tuy nhiên, tôi đã thấy nhiều thợ nail phân loại sai và không nhận thức được quyền của họ, dẫn đến thiếu các lợi ích như nghỉ ốm và có lương. Khi chúng tôi tiếp cận hơn 1.500 thợ làm móng tay, hầu hết đều không có hoặc biết về những lợi ích này.
However, I've seen many nail technicians misclassified and unaware of their rights, leading to lack of benefits like paid sick leave. When we reached out to 1,500 manicurists, most didn't have or know about these benefits.
Đó là lý do tại sao tôi ủng hộ AB 2444 sẽ cung cấp đào tạo và tài nguyên cần thiết bằng ngôn ngữ của chúng tôi để giúp chúng tôi hiểu cái luật lao động. Điều này không chỉ giúp người lao động mà còn cải thiện dịch vụ cho khách hàng của chúng tôi. Tôi kêu gọi Hội đồng Thẩm mỹ cắt tóc bỏ phiếu ủng hộ dự luật. Cảm ơn.
That's why I support AB 2444, which will provide necessary training and resources in our language to help us understand labor laws. This not only helps workers but also improves the service for our customers. I urge the Board of Barbering Cosmetology to vote on supporting this bill. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Hello. Hi everybody. Tôi tên là Trish Huỳnh, tôi tới từ Orange County. Tôi làm nail, làm móng tay được 7 năm và sở hữu một tiệm nail được 5 năm. Thời gian làm thợ móng tay tôi bị bệnh do hóa chất, sau đó tôi bị bệnh ung thư.
Hi everyone, my name is Trish Huynh and I'm from Orange County. I worked as a manicurist for 7 years and I actually owned a nail salon for 5 years. Working as a manicurist, I got sick from the chemicals and was later diagnosed with cancer.
Sau khi tôi phát hiện ra bệnh ung thư, tôi mới phát hiện ra rằng mình đã phân loại sai. Một cái sai thành 1099, bỏ lỡ các quyền lợi sức khỏe và nghỉ ốm được trả lương. Tôi biết đủ tiếng Anh để làm việc nhưng không hiểu được hết luật, rất là khó khăn. Sau khi bình phục, tôi trở lại thành chủ tiệm và biết được luật lao động là quan trọng như thế nào.
As I sought treatment, I found out that I was wrongly classified as an independent contractor, missing out on health benefits and paid sick leave. I knew enough English to work, but to understand labor laws was difficult. After recovering, I became a salon owner and learned how important labor laws are.
And dự luật AB 2444 sẽ cung cấp các nguồn lực và luật lao động, thông tin cập nhật bằng ngôn ngữ cho người lao động và chủ sở hữu về các luật này. Ngành này sẽ trở nên an toàn hơn và có đầy đủ thông tin hơn. Tôi kêu gọi Hội đồng Quản trị BBC hoàn toàn ủng hộ việc này. Thank you.
AB 2444 will provide labor law resources and up-to-date information and language for owners and workers about these laws, making the industry safer and more well-informed. I urge the BBC board to fully support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name Kiều Anh Đỗ. Xin chào Hội đồng chuyên gia thẩm mỹ, tôi tên Kiều Anh Đỗ. Tôi là một thợ làm móng gần 9 năm và tôi muốn chia sẻ kinh nghiệm của tôi đến với các bạn. Tôi chọn nghề này vì nó cho phép tôi linh động thời gian để chăm sóc gia đình và nhu cầu ít tiếng Anh để tôi giao tiếp với khách hàng của mình.
Hello, Board of Barbering Cosmetologists. My name is Gyu Ando. I've been a manicurist for almost 9 years, and I'd like to share my experience with you. I chose this profession because this work was flexible with my hours to care for my family and didn't require high English proficiency for me to communicate with my customers.
Trước khi làm móng tay, tôi làm việc trong một nhà máy điện tử, nơi các quyền lợi của nhân viên được như bảo hiểm lao động, nghỉ ốm và nghỉ phép, lương và tiêu chuẩn. Làm việc như một thợ làm móng, tôi đã trải nghiệm một sự khác biệt đáng kể về quyền công nhân của mình, nơi tôi không được nghỉ có lương và trợ cấp sức khỏe hoặc nghỉ ốm.
Prior to my manicurist job, I was employed in an electronics factory where employee benefits such as health coverage, sick leave, and paid vacations were standard. Having worked as a manicurist, I experienced a dramatic difference in my workers' rights, where I was not given any paid time off, health benefits, or sick leave.
Tôi đã trải nghiệm một sự khác biệt lớn về quyền lợi tại nơi làm việc, có quyền truy cập hạn chế vào những lợi ích và được sự hỗ trợ hạnh phúc của tôi. Trình độ tiếng Anh hạn chế tôi hiểu biết về luật lao động trở nên khó khăn hơn, khiến tôi không biết về quyền mà mình được hưởng.
I experienced a big difference in workplace rights, having limited access to the very benefits that once supported my well-being. My limited English proficiency made it more difficult to understand labor laws, leaving me unaware of the rights I was entitled to.
Đó là lý do tại sao tôi ủng hộ vào dự luật AB 2444 bởi vì nó đảm bảo người lao động như chúng tôi và đồng nghiệp của tôi trong ngành làm móng được các thông tin bảo vệ. Tôi đứng trước các bạn để yêu cầu sự ủng hộ của các bạn vào dự luật này. Cảm ơn rất nhiều. Thank you so much.
That's why I believe AB 2444 because it ensures workers like myself and my colleagues in the nail salon industry are informed and protected. I stand before you to ask for your support for this bill. Thank you so much for listening.
Hello again, Fred Jones on behalf of the Professional Beauty Federation. It's always difficult to oppose a bill that's well-intentioned. I'll just give you history. I actually was asked by Lorena Gonzalez, who was the author of Assembly Bill 5, to help draft the language that provided the option for salons to have an exemption from the Dynamex ruling that created the ABC test. The ABC test, at least as it relates to our industry, would make it impossible for anybody to have independent contractors in their salons, period. And given the large percentage of our industry that utilizes independent contractors, and Lorena acknowledged that, she brought me in and said, let's draft some language. So there are requirements in AB 5 to legitimately utilize independent contractors that all businesses have to do. And then there's a special section with more requirements on our industry, again, what I helped draft, to make independent contractor salons legitimate. For example, you have to maintain your own business license, you have to maintain your own payroll, you have to maintain your own book of clients, you have to do your own, there's 7 additional criteria that only our industry have to do to be able to be exempted from ABC. The problem is Lorena Gonzalez was also the Women's Caucus Chair the year before AB 5, and the New York Times ran a series on Korean massage parlors and Vietnamese nail salons in Manhattan that were doing human trafficking and a lot of other bad things. So there was a sour note in her heart regarding this sector. So she told me that she was going to put a sunset only on the manicuring sector on this exemption from the ABC test as a result of this prior bad publicity. Nothing has come out in the subsequent years about problems in our Vietnamese nail salons since then. So we see this issue as equity. If hair salons and skin establishments and spas can be exempted from the ABC test, we believe our Vietnamese nail salons should have the same rights. That's it. This bill should be one word.
30 seconds.
Extend the sunset. We prefer indefinitely. Just pull it, unless you can show there's problems in this community. I haven't seen anything since AB 5's passage. So that's the answer. If you want to help this sector, treat them with respect and the same equitable treatment we're treating hair and skin establishments, period. Thank you.
Any other members of the public wish to speak? Okay. Seeing none, let's move back to board discussion.
Can I ask, can we see your shirts? I see that you guys all had shirts made and I can't read them in full. What do they say? What do they say?
California.
Awesome. Thank you.
Any follow-up from our board members? I hope that was helpful. Kelly, did you?
I thought the suggestion of coming back to the table and reducing to 2 to 3 pages was a really promising option. So that's where I stand right now.
Thank you so much. Any other board members?
I would agree that this is a well-intentioned bill. After listening to the discussion on both sides, though, I think it's going to be a tremendous burden that's put on this board that could be easily done in other ways. So if I can make a motion?
Okay, go ahead and make your motion, and then we'll see if anyone else has any other.
Second.
Yeah, thank you.
I would move that the board should take a position in opposition to AB 4044 as amended.
Does anyone?
Second.
Okay, Member Isbell, Member Weeks moved, Member Isbell seconded. Any other further discussion? I guess the other, I apologize for raising this at 12:15, but the other options would be, Sabina, could you explain the difference between oppose if amended versus support if amended? Are they the same? Yeah.
But they're not.
Okay, well, while she's looking for that.
Can I make a quick comment? I just want to thank everyone who spoke today, and to the translators, thank you so much. It's always so wonderful to hear from the community. So I want to thank everyone for taking the time to come here today.
So support if amended, right? So the board would be seeking some kind of changes to the proposal, right? So you would have to, which I would love in your motion if you choose to do that, it would also have to really say what those changes would be, because then your staff would go and write a letter and we'll try to work with the author's office to try to see if they'd be open to some of those changes. So if those changes are made, then that would change their position to support, right? So it's like basically support if amended. We support this bill if it's amended. If they're not, if they don't accept those changes, then they're going to remain neutral on the bill. So you'll have no position, right? So if they say, no, thank you so much, you know, you won't have any position. So oppose unless amended is basically the opposite, right? And so I think Mr. Weeks had just a straight oppose, right? And then,
Okay, was everyone clear on that? So the motion right now is just a straight oppose. The current iteration of the bill. It's been seconded. Unless anyone wants to make a substitute motion, we would deal with that first. Otherwise, we can go straight to voting. Okay, great. So I just want to check first if we...
Can I make a quick comment?
Yes.
I think I do, in going to Member Funk's questions about the 2 to 3 pages might be better. It would obviously be better, but it is still a cost to our board.
It would still
for
be a yearly
labor
cost,
laws.
yes.
But the other comment I just wanted to mention is we are voting on what's in writing today.
Yes.
So keeping that in mind, that we don't know what the pages are.
Yeah.
That because the bill's not clear what we want to incorporate. So we're going based on our 16 pages, understanding and in our discussions that we could get it down to 2 to 3 pages, but the bill's not clear on exactly what those pages.
And I can't imagine that they would ever put that specific language about page numbers in there. Okay.
If I could just add one more thing before we go to public comment. I also really want to thank the public for coming out today and the extensive conversations that they've been able to bring to us in our committee, at our committee level, and appreciate your working with our executive officer and our committee in getting us more information about your perspective. It's very helpful to understand more about where this is coming from. I concur with my colleagues that our concerns are irrespective of the concerns related to the intent, and we very much value the ideas behind this. I think our concerns, as Ms. Funk mentioned earlier, are logistics and wanting to do the best that can be done in providing the resources for your intent. And I think that my concerns are that it complicates the intent in a way that just is not helpful and frankly puts an onus on our board that potentially could create other future onuses on our board from other areas that we certainly don't want to get into when we need to focus on consumer protection in our role. Thank you.
So at this time, we're going to open it back up for public comment. There is a motion on the floor that we will vote on. So this is public comment specific to the motion that was just made.
Fred Jones, Professional Beauty Federation. I'll just add a little bit more color to the differences between motions, even though you don't have one. We had a support if amended on the Weber bill, which we're about to discuss, which I'll talk about when we come up with that. The bill went out on consent from its policy committee. It went out on consent on appropriations, and it's heading to consent on the floor. No debate, no discussion. Our support, if amended, the amended stuff was important. We wanted to have the discussion. We weren't granted it because I was an idiot, and I recommended to my board that we took a support if amended. So I support your position today of the flat opposed. Thank you.
Any other members of the public wishing to speak on this motion? Okay, seeing none, may we call a roll call vote?
Callie Mae Pham.
Yes.
Megan Ellis.
Yes.
Kelly Funk.
Yes.
Reese Isbell.
Yes.
Yolanda Jimenez.
Yes.
Colette Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Tamika Miller.
Yes.
And Steve Weeks.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much for that discussion. All right, it is now 12:20. The lunch break that was promised is here. We're going to take a 30-minute lunch break. Let's reconvene at 12:50. Okay. Everyone else set? Okay. We are reconvening our meeting, and we are still on item number 9, report on March 25th and April 22nd, 2024, legislative and budget committee meetings.
All right, we finished 2444. Let me just get it. So we are on AB 2862. This is a bill that the board has not seen yet. The committee has. This bill requires the department, it is a department-wide bill, to prioritize African American applicants, especially those who are descended from a person enslaved in the United States. We have submitted a fiscal impact on this bill because unfortunately this would pretty negatively impact our processes. It would require us to potentially prioritize more applicants. So we already have a process for military, asylum, and it's going to bump everyone else into being slower. So we're concerned about our processing times that we always try to keep within a certain range, and we do think that we would need additional staff for one to be able to make this happen. And the bill is also not clear on how we would even obtain this information. So the bill doesn't say what someone would have to provide for us to qualify them as an expedite. So with those concerns, we trying to remember. I believe the committee recommended a watch position on this bill.
Yes. Yeah, if I could just follow up from that. Thank you, Christy. Again, great intentions behind legislation. The difficulty here, and this is actually part of the legislature's reparations considerations for legislation to be behind the idea of reparations for African Americans and Californians. Again, well-intentioned. The concern specifically to this language is the logistics of what will happen within our purview. We did have extensive conversations in the committee about this as well. this is heavily supported by a lot of people in Sacramento, and we cognizant of that, and not in an interest of opposition to the concept here. It's a little different than our last conversation we just had in relation to our role. We have taken a watch position. I think today we can have a larger conversation here, and then if anyone wants to make a motion in direction of where we want to go with this bill, we can go there.
If I may?
Yeah.
So the committee recommendation was to watch. We haven't taken the watch position yet to the board, right?
Yes.
Right. And also, so far, the Respiratory Care Board of DCA, I believe, has done an opposed unless amended already on this particular bill. They pointed out a few things in their letter, something around basically same thing that you've all said. How do we identify these people? This might actually create a longer process, because how are you to verify or identify these people? And then it seems to be a little contrary to the intent to expedite, which may involve a little, many more steps that might actually make it longer, or a longer process. And then besides the fiscal impact. So.
I would agree with that. I mean, the text of the bill is like less than not even half a page. It really says nothing about what the implementation would even look like. And my concerns are the same. I can imagine a scenario where we're looking for proof, and what does that even look like? Who is in a position to verify? All of those are issues that are not addressed in this bill, and I don't know if they contemplated what it would actually take to be able to implement. But as written, it's almost nothing. It's just like 2 sentences. I don't know what we're supposed to do with text that's not fully fleshed out.
Well, and as Christy noted, we don't have a way, it's against California law to gather statistics on this kind of information. So we don't even have the ability to do that. This is more, the language seems to be more of a concept rather than a logistical plan of action. And that you can see that in the language being so short, that there really isn't a plan of action, it's more a concept.
Any other thoughts? I guess then the question would be, we can adopt the watch position that was recommended by the committee, we can go further and oppose it amended. Sabina had described when another board's course had an opposed and amended position. What are the numbers here on that?
Yes. So this close to May revise, it's headed back to the Judiciary Committee. There is a possibility, so we're at the end of a 2-year legislative cycle. This bill might die at the end of May. So I say maybe just keep the watch position, just because there's a possibility it could be heavily revised in Judiciary, especially since the bill is so light on language. I'm thinking it could sort of still be a filler bill, and they might utilize the Judiciary Committee to edit it a bit more thoroughly. Is it headed to appropriation?
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. What did Judiciary say?
I'm going to do pass and refer to come on appropriation.
Oh.
I think it goes to appropriations Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
all right.
So it is moving forward.
And we did submit a fiscal of, I believe, $425,000, because obviously we would need staffing to handle it.
Okay. So a significant cost. Okay. I think with that information, a watch position might not be helpful if it's moving, especially is that the understanding?
Yeah. So maybe oppose unless amended.
Okay. What Okay, I would move to take a opposed position. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second from Member Kavanaugh. Let's take public comment on this motion.
Hi, Fred Jones, Professional Beauty Federation. We don't have a position on the bill yet, but I just wanted to express some history. When I started representing, and by the way, I started as a lowly legislative intern in 1992, worked in the Capitol for 9 years as a legislative staffer, and then stakeholders in this industry sucked me into this industry, and I've been with the Professional Beauty Federation since 2000. And when I talk to young people about my career, I say there's 2 phrases that summarizes my 30 plus years of working in policy making arena. The law of unintended consequences and the path to hell is laden with good intentions. That's it. that's the summary of my career. So I look past good intentions and I look at what's the actual real world consequence. And for you guys, for our industry, this becomes a zero-sum game. Now, when I first started 24 years ago representing this industry before Christie, it was a 9-month waiting time from when you graduated till you took the exam. 9 months. Kids were waiting longer for the exam than they went to school. Sometimes 2 or 3 months longer. That's no longer the case under Miss Underwood's leadership and a number of state board members. That has all changed. So it's almost a moot point here. You guys are so quick getting the turnaround from graduation to being set for the exam. There's really no point to this. So I think a flat opposed position is a good one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Seth Kaplan, Crew Institute of Cosmetology and Barbering. To reiterate what Fred said, the state board times are really quick now, actually, maybe even too quick. And I say that because as someone who provides the education to the students, having a little bit of time after they graduate to get really, really, really prepared to take the state board is not a bad thing. And we see this sometimes with the vets, because the vets, they get really priority to take the test, and nothing wrong with that, it's great. But then they get priority to retake it if they don't pass, and sometimes so quickly they don't even come in to get additional help, which we offer to them free. So we want them to have plenty of time to be prepared. Not so long that they do something else with their lives, but definitely enough time to where they really can, stay focused and be ready to take the state board. So maybe you guys can let the legislatures know that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment on this agenda item? Seeing none, can we have a call for a vote? Oh, yes.
Could we comment a bit more?
Yes,
Christy, I was curious, or perhaps anyone might know, this bill isn't specific to barbering and cosmetology. Have any of the other boards under DCA come into a position on this, and DCA itself?
That's the one I said earlier is one of our boards.
Which one?
Respiratory Care Board.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's what you were referring
Yeah.
to. Okay, but
Yeah.
there's none of the other boards?
As of the day of the last analysis in mid-April, there was only 2 support organizations and 1 opposed unless amended. And that was Respiratory Care Board. And I don't know what's come in since then from DCA.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they've all voted. And DCA doesn't take a position because they're part of the administration.
Okay, so, but, and how many boards are under DCA?
35? 8? 38?
I think it's 36 and 1.
36?
Yeah.
And that many haven't taken a position on this?
They may have, but it didn't get into the analysis document that was last uploaded to on the assembly side.
Okay, thank you. All right, I have concerns with doing an opposition to this bill because of its concept. And so I don't know that I'm going to vote in favor of oppose, but I certainly understand where the opposition idea is coming from. And in that note, I believe that I will abstain.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, can we call a vote?
Callie May Pham?
Yes.
Megan Ellis,
Yes.
Kelly Funk,
Yes.
Reese Isbell,
Abstain.
Yolanda Jimenez,
Yes.
Colette Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Tamika Miller,
Yes.
and Steve Weeks.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Let's move on.
Okay, our next bill is SB 817. This was a 2-year bill that had some cleanup language for our hairstylist application. That bill was paused in appropriations. I don't believe it'll be moving forward, but that language will come up again in this discussion. So no action on that. SB 1084 was the bill authored by Senator Nguyen, who was which was going to be deregulating the hairstylist license. The author has pulled that bill, so that bill is not going to be moving forward. SB 1451, this is the bill authored by Senator Ashby, who is the new chair of Business and Professions Committee. This is the omnibus bill where they did place our language for the hairstylist fee. And what this is doing is making our fee structure set up like all of our other fee structure, so that you pay a licensing fee and then you pay your application and exam fee, which is the actual cost to the board. So it's just changing the language and statute to allow us to charge what we pay, what it costs us to process the hairstylist license. And this bill did go to the committee, and they are recommending a support position.
Any questions or comments from the other board members? Okay, if there is no discussion, can I get a motion, or, so the recommended position is to support. Is there a motion to adopt that position?
So moved.
Thank you, Member Funk. Do we have a second?
Seconded.
Thank you, Member Ellis. Okay, let's move to public comment on this motion to support SB 1451. Seeing no public comment, may we call a vote?
Callie Mae Pham,
Yes.
Megan Ellis,
Yes.
Kelly Funk,
Yes.
Reese Isbell,
Yes.
Yolanda Jimenez,
Yes.
Colette Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Tamika Miller,
Yes.
and Steve Weeks.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Let's move on to agenda item number 10, discussion and possible action regarding rulemaking proposals. Christy, can you guide us?
All right, I have a few updates for you, and then we do have a couple items that we need some action on. Starting on our memo, the first page, we have an update on our SB 803 cleanup regulations. We have finally sent those off to the Office of Administrative Law, and we are expecting to hear back from them on or before June 3rd, 2024. The next update I have for you is rulemaking packages that we are currently working on, the pre-apprentice training, the out-of-state license certifications, and interpreters. Those are currently being worked on all by staff, so no update today, but they are being worked on. And then the following regulation packages are being just started and worked on by staff. That is apprenticeship regulations, schools and externs, health and safety, and disciplinary review committee cleanup. Now we go into the meat. All right, so our first regulation package that we're talking about today is our disciplinary guidelines. So that's your packets that you all looked at probably during closed session today. The disciplinary guidelines have not been updated since 2010. I want to make a clarification on the second to last paragraph on page 2. We were working with our regulations legal counsel, and we accidentally got our boards confused. So we mentioned the Dental Practice Act, which that should say Board of Barbering and Cosmetology Act. So apologize for that. These on page 3 of this memo, it talks about what we've done to update the regulations. The regulations is like 2 sentences in the regulations, but what we do is we incorporate that document by reference. So these are all the changes that are being incorporated by reference in the document. Now, some of you members who have been around a little longer, this may seem familiar to you because we have talked about this before. This has been, now that we've worked with legal counsel through the process, we're finally ready to bring it back to you with very detailed regulations of what we will do. So when you incorporate something by reference, even though our actual regulatory language is very brief, we have to submit that full package, this booklet, to the Office of Administrative Law, and this is what we're saying is regulations. So bulleted here, I'm not going to go through each one of them unless you really want me to, is all the changes that we have made in working with legal counsel and our enforcement staff on changes to our disciplinary guidelines. Should the board choose to move this forward, we would need a motion, and we have a recommended motion in your packet on page 4 that is a little bit long.
Do we have to read it out loud?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Kelly has a...
All right.
Member Funk here. I move to approve the proposed regulatory text for Title 16 CCR Section 972 as set forth in attachments 1 and 2. Direct staff to submit the text to the Director of the Department of Consumer Affairs and the Business, Consumer Services, and Housing Agency for review. If the board does not receive any objections or adverse recommendations specifically directed at the proposed action or to the procedures followed by the board in proposing or adopting this action, authorize the executive officer to take all steps necessary to initiate the rulemaking process, make any non-substantive changes to the package, and set the matter for a hearing if requested. If no objections or adverse recommendations are received during the 45-day comment period and no hearing is requested, authorize the executive officer to take all steps necessary to complete the rulemaking and adopt the proposed regulations at Section 972 as noticed.
And do we have a second?
Seconded.
Okay, thank you, Member Ellis. Okay, can we open it up for public comment on this agenda item?
I was just confused, and I was hoping the motioner would restate the motion.
Okay, any other further public comment? No, seeing none. Any other discussion by the board members? Okay, may we call a vote?
Callie Mae Pham?
Yes.
Megan Ellis?
Yes.
Kelly Funk?
Yes.
Reese Isbell?
Yes.
Yolanda Jimenez?
Yes.
Colette Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Tamika Miller?
Yes.
And Steve Weeks.
Yes.
Motion passes. All right, our next packet is on the remedial education program. So SB 384 was the bill that was signed into law effective January 1. And so we have in your packet the proposed language. So this proposed regulations lists the requirement. Obviously, somebody is going to be able to do remedial education in lieu of paying a citation fine. The regulations are going to be a description of the process for notifying licensees of the remedial education option, eligibility criteria for this program, the subject matter content for the remedial education, and the conditions for accepting the board's offer, including that the cited person shall enroll and complete the online remedial education program administered by the board as specified, with a non-refundable payment for $55. That dollar amount we are basing on, we just developed our pre-apprentice training, so we're assuming it's going to be about something very similar to that. Online type of educational program, and then how they show proof for completion, and then specifies the conditions for complying with any final citation order. So the action that would needed is for the board to review the attached regulatory language, and then a recommended motion, which is also stated in your packet.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion from the board members? If not, can we get a motion?
I will motion.
Oh, thank you, Member Kavanaugh.
I move to approve the proposed regulatory text for Title 16 CCR Section 974.4 as set forth in the Attachment 3. Direct staff to submit the text to the Director of the Department of Consumer Affairs and the Business, Consumer Services, and Housing Agency for review. If the board does not receive any objections or adverse recommendations specifically directed at the proposed action or to the procedures followed by the board in proposing or adopting this action, authorize the executive officer to take all steps necessary to initiate the rulemaking process, make any non-substantive, hopefully I pronounced that right, changes to the package, and set the matter for a hearing if requested. If no objections or adverse recommendations are received during the 45-day comment period and no hearing is requested, authorize the executive officer to take all necessary steps or all steps necessary to complete the rulemaking and adopt the proposed regulations at section 974.4 as noticed.
Thank you very much. Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Member Funk.
Can I ask a quick question?
Oh, yes, of course.
Just the question is, this online course, would it be a generic course or would there be specificity to individual license types?
It's going to be generic because we want it to cover everything. I do think, are we adding on a foot spa? Yes. There will be an addition of a foot spas. Obviously, if you have a barber that needs to take remedial education, they shouldn't have to take a course on foot spas. But the rest of it is going to be generic and going to be amazing. And I think it will be something we could use in the future for like our reinstatement hearings that we had today. So it's going to really be our health and safety laws.
I love it.
But obviously, you know, there's the foot spa is the one main thing that's still a little different. And then like maybe we're not going to have like an electrology specific items for a barber. So
Thank you for that. Any other questions from the other board members? Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Let's move to public comment. Okay, seeing none, can we call a vote?
Callie Mae Pham?
Yes.
Megan Ellis?
Yes.
Kelly Funk?
Yes.
Reese Isbell?
Yes.
Yolanda Jimenez?
Yes.
Colette Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Tamika Miller?
Yes.
And Steve Weeks?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. And I want to commend my fellow board members for their exemplary reading comprehension. This was wait, what a display. Okay, let's move on to item number 11, establishment of a committee to hear withdrawal of approval of apprenticeship program sponsor. Christy?
So as we all know, we've been talking about problems with the apprenticeship program for some time. We have been really doing, looking at options for what's the board's role and what can we do to make sure that we're upholding the standards of the apprenticeship program. And we do have a section of law that says we can withdraw a program sponsor's approval. We have never done that before. So what we did was we had a meeting with our Deputy Attorney General Liaison. She came to Sacramento and met with us, and we reviewed what we could be done. We have several, I want to say about 10 program sponsors right now that we believe should have their approval limited or removed. And we discovered that we need a committee, much like a DRC committee, but just for the removal of a program sponsor. So if the board decides to take action, so if we do an investigation and we find cause, we will notify the program sponsor. They'll have 30 days in order to correct their issues that we have notified, and they have the right to appeal or request a hearing. And that hearing comes in front of a committee that we have never established. So this is to have that committee established. It would be members of the board. So Sabina, we would just want it to have to be less than a quorum of the board, right? Which is 7. But we're looking for volunteers who would want to serve on this committee. Nothing in the hopper right now of needing anyone to serve, but it's definitely something that we are moving forward with some concerns that we think we have the ability to take action.
And Christy, can I ask, do you envision something like DRC where we have more than 3 members and people can rotate in, or would you recommend a set 3?
I would probably recommend a set. I don't think this committee will meet very often. It might meet initially because obviously we want to make sure we are providing due process to anybody who we're notifying of concerns. And I believe we're sending out notices to, I want to say, is it 10 or 11 program sponsors that have significant issues that they will have 30 days to correct, or they can come to in front of this committee. Once we get this ball moving, I would think it probably would even out and not be very common that this committee would meet. But since it's the first time, I think it would be best to probably have people that can serve each time.
And I believe DRC is always in person, right? Would this committee be in person?
I believe it
as
would
well?
be in person.
It would have to be in person. Okay. All right. Yes, Member Weeks?
I have a question for you. What causes, we need to put in writing what causes could trigger this disciplinary action? That we're saying what the disciplinary action could be and how we go about, but do we need to identify specific items that would trigger it?
Well, we have with our Attorney General. Okay, just conferring with my counsel. We are finding program sponsors that do not have a local education authority, and they have to. And that is, all program sponsors work with a school district. LA Unified is a very big one, and then there's maybe 3 other ones in all of the state that the program sponsors work with, and you have to have that connection. And that is for the related training. So we give a license for an apprentice to go in and do 3,200 hours in the shop, but they also have to do. It's different for barbers and cosmetologists. 230 hours-ish of related training. And so for that related training, the program sponsors are in an agreement with their LEA, their local education authority. What we've found out is, and this is within what's called the Shelley Maloney Act, which is the Division of Apprenticeship Standards Act. We have found by our own investigations that at least 10 or more program sponsors have no relationship with an LEA at all. Which makes them not eligible to be even an apprenticeship program sponsor. And so this would be, that is our main thing. Now, that's black and white. They have to have an LEA. Our law says you have to be an apprenticeship program sponsor, you have to follow the Shelley Maloney Act. We have referred this information to other departments so that they know as well. But we can take action. And so that's our first step of what we're going to be doing. Now, we have found all kinds of other issues with apprenticeship program sponsors that we also think would be, give us the authority to notify them to show cause. We've found program sponsors who have had their corporation suspended by Franchise Tax Board, and they're still doing business. We just had an investigation done on an establishment that was considered a training facility. So for one of our sponsors, it was an actual so where they're supposed to go to get training, not where they're working, where they're going to get training. And we did several visits to this establishment and found no apprentices ever, one licensee, and significant illegal activity that we have turned over to authorities. We're gonna, so we're working through those. This first group is black and white. You have to have an LEA, and they don't. So they can get one. They're gonna have 30 days to make that agreement and get one and show proof. But if they don't, then we're gonna have to take our next steps.
In taking the next steps, are we still not defining to them all the possible areas that they could fall under our disciplinary jurisdiction? I mean,
Well,
in DRC, we know that these areas can be cited and but in this one, it seems a little, and I agree, we need regulation in this area.
Absolutely.
I'm absolutely with you there, but I just wonder, in fairness, we should say to them, you do this or not do this.
Yes, they'll get a notice. They're going to get, it's called a notice to show cause. So they will get a notice, and it's going to say exactly what we found and what they need to do to fix it. So that's just, again, on just these LEA issues. all the other issues, that's going to take a lot more work on staff's part to really dig deep. But it's very clear that the law says an apprenticeship program sponsor must follow the Shelley Maloney Act, and the Shelley Maloney Act says you must work with an LEA. And so that's all going to be in the letter.
It's similar to when you get like a citation.
Mhm.
Remember that long, there'll be the violations listed out and stuff like that.
Could I be cited theoretically if I was one of them? We're having a unacceptable, whatever that means, pass rate?
No, not unless we put it in regulation that you
But
need
we
a certain pass rate.
But the committee possibly could put it in regulation?
The
I would
board
like to
could.
be on this committee.
All right, okay, thank you for that. Any other questions? Okay, so Member Funk, thank you.
Yeah, I'm in.
Was that your hand? Okay.
Oh, what?
Did I see a hand from Member Jimenez? Okay. Any other volunteers for this in-person? Oh, wonderful. Okay, well then we'll take everyone. Member Kavanaugh, Member Miller, and Member Ellis. Okay, that brings us up to 4.
Yeah, I wouldn't, I'm okay with that committee chair.
Oh, great. Member Jimenez. Wonderful. Anyone else want to join?
No, we can't have that. We can't have that many.
How many do we have? 5? 5. So we have 6, right?
I
Less
thought-
than quorum, right?
I'm sorry, I have Kelly, Tamika, Megan, and Colette.
Me.
Oh, I thought you said no.
No, I said I would volunteer a tribute, absolutely. How many do you need?
Just 3. And not more than quorum, which would be 7.
5 is a good number because it's not even.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
And I just want to say how happy I am because you're all in Sacramento.
That is why I wanted to point out that it would be an in-person committee.
Good point.
Create some scheduling problems. Okay, do we need, you have volunteers, the materials say that actually recommend move to establish. Do we actually need a motion for the committee?
Nope.
Or okay.
My
Yeah, that's
memo
what I
was
thought.
wrong.
I was like, I think as president,
I was
it's
being
my-
aggressive.
we're allowed to start committees at our discretion. Okay, wonderful. Do we have, let's just take public comment on this agenda item, number 11. So a committee to hear withdrawal of approval of apprenticeship program sponsors.
Good afternoon, Seth Kaplan, Crew Institute of Cosmetology and Barbering. I'd like to applaud you for setting this up. I can tell you from a school's perspective that I'm approached by quote-unquote apprenticeship trainers. They call themselves schools, by the way. And they ask me if I will teach their students the 230 hours that they're supposed to have. And I'm saying, I don't think I can, nor would I, but I don't believe that's the way it's supposed to work. In addition, I hear from students or apprentices that eventually end up getting in some sort of trouble with what they're doing and eventually enroll in school. Will I accept any of their apprenticeship hours, which we can't, as far as I know we can't, and that they paid in excess of $7,500, sometimes up to $10,000 to go to apprenticeship training.
Infuriating.
Which I tell them, I don't believe you're supposed to be doing that. I think it's against the law, and all these different things that come up. So I applaud you guys for taking a look at this. If you need a board member, I'd be more than happy to do it, but it sounds like you don't. But honestly, this will protect a lot of people because a lot of people have been hurt by what's taken place. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that public comment. Are there any other public comment on this agenda item? Okay, if none, let's move on to item number 12, public comment on items not on the agenda. Thank you so much for your patience today. If there's any public comment that you would like to make on items that were not on the agenda today, please come up. Okay, I'm not seeing anything. So let's move on to item 13, suggestions for future agenda items. Do we have any board members who would like to raise anything they'd like to see on a future agenda? Okay, I'm not seeing anything, but before we adjourn, I want to let everyone know that our own executive officer, Christy Underwood, is now a board member of the California Massage Therapy Council. She was appointed by the DCA to serve in that role. Thank you so much, Christy. We're excited for you, and I'm excited for the share of information. you bringing all of your expertise about the Board of Barbering Cosmetology to them, and for bringing back to us information about what's going on with the Massage Therapy Council.
I've decided it's easier to be an EO than a board member. And how grateful I am for my board members.
Great.
Congratulations.
Okay, any other last items? All right, then let's adjourn today's meeting. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time.
Thank you.
Good job.